Hello, everyone. It feels like it's been such a long time, even though I don't know how long it's been. I know has it been a full month? I don't know. But it's been too long, is what I know. And so I am so ready to get back into the saddle, get back into these candid conversations. I have so many good ideas and topics ready for you guys. So I'm just ready to get unleashed. And so, yes, as you can see, tonight's topic is passport bros in light of the Bible. Now, there is a lot being said about passport bros. There's a lot to be said about it. You have women arguing, you have men arguing, and you just, have a lot of discourse back and forth. But what does the Bible have to say? Okay, because that's all conjecture. Let's get down to brass tacks. All right, folks. And so I have some good verses pulled up that are talking about not only dating relationships, but just the idea, just how we as people are to interact with one another, which I think is very beneficial. And so, yes, we have some good stuff. I'm going to go over some points that I have laid out, and then I'm going to open up the chat to you guys for you to, tell me what you have to say in regards to the information. And so let's just jump right into it, y'all. It's been too long. I've had you waiting long enough. So let's just get into this info. And so we're going to start out, of course, being that this is Passport Bros in light of the Bible. We're going to go to the Bible, everybody's favorite book. And we're going to start off in Numbers chapter 12. And so the reason why I wanted to go to Numbers 12 is because when I thought about doing this, I'll think of a topic to do, and I might not have it all fully ironed out in my mind as to what exactly I want to say about it, but I'll have like just a couple of verses, or maybe like just a passage, or maybe just like a certain thing taken out of the Bible that draws it back to my mind, and then I just build upon that. And so Numbers chapter 12 is the original starting point from that made me think about talking about this as a whole. And so in Numbers 12, it's talking about, so the context is, we have Moses and Miriam and Aaron, the siblings. And so, Moses, they're out in the wilderness leading the children of Israel. They're out of control. They're constantly rebelling. And so Moses, he's married. And he married a woman that Miriam and Aaron aren't really that fond of. And it's because of where she's from. And so we're going to see what God has to say about their disdain for his wife just because of where she's from. And so we're starting off. We're going to read the whole chapter. It's only 16 verses, so it's not super long. But yes, and so it starts off and it says, "And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. And they said, Hath the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? Hath he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it. Now the man Moses was very meek, above all the men which were upon the face of the earth. And the Lord spake suddenly unto Moses, and unto Aaron, and unto Miriam, Come out, ye three, unto the tabernacle of the congregation. And they three came out. And the Lord came down in the pillar of the cloud, and stood in the door of the tabernacle, and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. And he said, Hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches. And the similitude of the Lord shall he behold. Wherefore, when we were yet not afraid to speak against my servant Moses, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said unto Moses, Alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. Let her not be one as one dead, of whom the flesh hath consumed when he cometh out of his mother's womb. And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, Heal her now, O God, I beseech thee. And the Lord said unto Moses, If her father had but spit in her face, should he not be ashamed 7 days? Let her be shut out from the camp 7 days, and after that let her be received in again. And Miriam was shut out from the camp 7 days, and the people journeyed not until Miriam was brought in again. And afterward the people removed from Hazeroth and pitched in the wilderness of Paran. Oh, thank you. I could see that stuff was happening above my peripheral, but I didn't want to lose my train of thought. So thank you for putting that up here. And so, yes. So if you were following along, then, Miriam, she gets a little mouthy with Moses, talking about, being irritable with him because of his wife, being that she's an Ethiopian woman. And God wasn't a fan of that. And he straightened her out and gave her leprosy for a week. And so, that's the Old Testament. So, God, he's not going to give somebody, leprosy because they speak out against someone's spouse for being of a different nationality or different ethnicity. But the statement still applies. The meaning behind it still applies, which is that God does not take kindly to you judging people arbitrarily for things that aren't actually sins. And being Ethiopian or being from a different place is not a sin. Hello, take heed to the message. I guess I should acknowledge the chat. So Lost in Translation, hello, always a pleasure to have you. I'm sure you'll be popping up later to give us some good wisdom, as you always do. And we have Lou. Oh, we have Lady Novoa. Yes, thank you so much for coming in. And we have Lou. I'm not familiar with you, Lou. I don't know if you're new or if it's just because I've been gone, but thank you so much for showing up. It's very appreciative. And so, yes, what we have here is Miriam. She has resentment and bitterness towards Moses' wife for no good reason. And so God doesn't like that. And so keep that in mind as we move forward. Well, actually, as we move backwards, because we're going back to Deuteronomy. But, hold on. Just kidding. It is moving forward. And so, yeah. And so that first point is that we should not judge, someone or someone's spouse based off of where they come from. Because just because someone comes from a certain place does not inherently mean that they're a bad person or that, they're unfit to be with this person that we respect or that we like. We shouldn't say like, what is he doing with her? She's Jamaican or, she's Filipino or something, ridiculous. Because when it comes to dating and marriage, the only thing that should really have a bearing on who we're with are if they're a godly person, if they have the same faith as us and if they're in the same place in their faith walk as us. And so that is what's actually important, not where someone's from. But we're going to get more into that a little bit later. And so the second passage that we're going to go to is Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 1 through 6. And so in Deuteronomy 1 through 6, Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1 through 6, this is talking about, this is God kind of giving the marching orders for what's supposed to happen for when soldiers go into a new place and take it over and, what they can do with the women who are their captives. And so pay attention to what this says. And this is Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 1 through 6. And so it says, when the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor shew mercy unto them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughters thou shalt not give unto thy sons, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you, and destroy thee suddenly. But thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars, and break down their images, and cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. And so, yes, okay, I think I got this confused with another passage that I have later on. But so this passage is kind of like the opposite of what we first read. And so this is saying that when you go into a new nation, when you go and overtake them, don't take their daughters for your sons, and don't take their sons to be with your daughters, because you should, utterly destroy it and break down their altars and break down their groves, because not because they're foreign, but because they are into idol worship, they're pagans, they are of a different faith. And so this is where that verse in the New Testament says that you should not be unequally yoked. This is what this is drawing upon. And so when we, if you're a Christian, you should only be with a Christian when you're speaking about relationships wise. And so it's not good enough that, you go somewhere and that you just pick up a spouse because you like how they look, or you think that they're cute, or, what have you. Oh, Lost in Translation says the mixed cultures worshiping other gods. Yeah, exactly. And so there's nothing wrong with mixing cultures in general, like Moses and the Ethiopian woman. But there's a serious problem when you're mixing gods. And that is exactly how Solomon got tripped up. The wisest and the richest man who ever lived was brought to his knees, and the kingdom was dispersed and broken up because he could not get his wives under control, and that was his downfall. And his wives, they were into idolatry, and they had him worshiping other gods, and he didn't lose his salvation, of course, but he got mixed into all that stuff, and he should have known better, and he shouldn't have gotten mixed into all that, because he was a Christian, and he knew that the Lord Jehovah, that he was the right God. And but when you get mixed in with people, when you date people from different places, and they have all their religions and cultural stuff, and so it can mess you up, and that's not what you want, because evil communications corrupts good manners, and so you don't want that for yourself. And so with those two passages in mind, I'm going to break down what my two biggest qualms with the passport bro situation is. Lou says you are correct. God wants us to get with believers. That is what is most important. Should not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. Absolutely, Lou. Because you're just asking for problems when you are gonna get yoked up in a relationship, like a dating or marriage relationship, with an unsaved person. Because when it comes to Christianity, when it comes to your life, period, if you're going to live a life that is honoring to God and that God wants you to live, then you have to be actively following after God, and you have to be doing godly things. And having a spouse who has such a difference, fundamentally speaking, is going to be a setback. It just will. And so, you don't want to have a spouse who's holding you back and stifling you. You want to have a spouse who's chasing after God with you. You want to have a spouse who goes to church with you and prays with you and reads the Bible with you. And so it's not good enough to, just be with someone because you think that they have other good qualities, but they don't have the most important quality, which is of being of like faith. And so going into my two main qualms when it comes to the passport bros movement, the first one is when it comes to people, and when I say people, I mean like 99% women, taking issue with the passport bros movement because they think that these men are desperate and lack game and are just lazy and don't have what it takes to compete in the Western world for women, and so they go overseas and they find these women who are desperate and are uneducated, bumpkin, backwards women, and they get mixed up together. And the women in America, or the Western women, they are resentful and bitter towards them. And so when it comes to that, I think that that is problematic behavior and thinking because, for one, it's prideful. Yes. And so it's prideful because for a Western woman to think that, oh, these men that are going over, these passport bros, they're just so, childish, they're desperate, they can't handle a real woman. They can't handle, a nice, educated PhD woman. They have to go to some, third world country and get them some girl, who only has two pairs of shoes because they can't handle a real woman. Or, whatever they try to say about themselves or about the Western women to try to defend themselves because they don't want to accept the fact that men are so repulsed by them and the way that they act nowadays. They're literally jumping ship and going to other places. And so, yeah, this mindset, it comes from pride, folks. And it comes from it comes from a very fundamental misunderstanding of human nature. And so, to say that these men are lazy is not the furthest thing from the truth. But what it is not really laziness. It's just that people want to take the path of least resistance. And so if a man is in America, or if he's in any of these Western countries, and he sees how ill-mannered, disrespectful, unattentive, rude and calloused and selfish women, they see all these women, and they're like, I don't want any part of that. How could you blame them? And so they're like, okay, well, I think I probably have better odds going to, some Caribbean island or going to some Asian country and finding a woman over there who has the kind of values and the kind of traits that I'm looking for. And so why wouldn't he do that? And so it's not really laziness. It's just a matter of, convenience. And if a person thinks that if all I have over here are headaches, then why wouldn't they want to venture elsewhere and see, if the grass is really greener? And so, we have to have grace with people because when it comes to what's happening in the Western dating scene, it's not completely unjustified to feel this way. And so, we come over here and those of you watching, you probably watch other people who, talk like us and have these same kind of views. And so you guys know that it's not, all hope is not lost because there are nice women out there because you're in the kind of circles where the nice women will congregate. You're in circles of people trying to better themselves, people trying to lift themselves up, people who want better, and so you guys see it, but a lot of people don't see it. And a lot of people, they just see what's on the front page of TikTok and what's on the Explore page on Instagram, and it's whores and it's thoughts and it's depressing is what it is. And so a lot of people, they lose hope. And so it's unfortunate, but it's understandable. That's what I'll say, is that it's unfortunate that, we have not made enough waves in the community yet for more people to really see, like, when it comes to Western women, they have not all gone to pot, okay? There are still some good ones out there that are still single, that will still be loyal and love you, no matter what the, Shaniquas say, no matter what they do, because they're loud, and I wouldn't even say that they are a majority. So it's like they're vocal and they're a majority, but there are still some very good women out there. And so that leads me to my second qualm with the passport bros movement, which is on the man side. So the first point was that women are often looked down on the men and women who participate in the passport movement. But my second qualm is the men, because like I was kind of touching on just a second ago, is that they just paint all Western women with this very broad brush of they're all trash, they've all gone rogue, and there's none that are good. And I just have an issue with that because it's it's a very defeatist mindset, and it's what they want. The proverbial they. It's what they want. They want you to have this defeatist mindset because when it comes to being a passport bro, this is not something that is an available option to most people. Your average guy who's like 18 years old, 19 years old, he's looking around and he wants to find a good woman. He doesn't have $700, $1,300, $2,400 to fly over to Switzerland and go, ship over some wife. Okay, so he's kind of looking around like, what am I gonna do? I guess I'll just stay single and stack my money and do me. Is the mindset that a lot of these men are adopting, whereas I'm just gonna focus on me and I'm not gonna worry about getting married. But that is not the answer. The answer is to defy, culture and what they want you to do if stay single. And what you have to do is you have to put even more effort into wanting to get married and finding a good spouse. And so passport bros, what they're doing is understandable, but they're kind of giving up on their homeland women, and it's setting a bad precedent for the young men or just the broke men who don't have that option, don't have that luxury to be able to fly over and go get a woman or bring a woman here and what have you. And so it's all hope is not lost. And so the passport bros movement, it feels very defeatist. And so, if you really want to find a wife, like, because in these other countries, folks, they all don't walk on water over there either. Sorry to break it to you. But those women over there, a lot of them are scammers. A lot of them are just looking for a quick buck. They're just looking for a ticket to America, and they don't really love you. And so to think that, all Western women are no good, they're all defective. But the women over in these the women over in these third world countries and in these developing countries, that's where it's at. I don't know. I wouldn't be so quick to paint with such a broad brush. There are still, the Bible says there are still 7,000 prophets who have not bowed the knee to Baal. So there's still a sizable portion of young women who are willing to submit and cook and clean and be loyal and all the good stuff that you want out of a wife. They're still here, and just because a woman is overseas in a developing country does not mean that she is just ready made out of the box, ready for you. Almond Eyes, hello, thank you for joining us. And so yeah, so those are my two. Trey Ferg, he says Miss Jenny just spoke from the heart and watch her shine. Thank you, I appreciate that. I hope you cam up later. And so yeah, and so those are the two main issues that I see with the Passport Bros movement. And so because neither of them are true, and so they're both kind of based around lies, and they give people this idea of they put the sexes against each other once again, which is also what they want to do. They want us divided. They want us at each other's throats. They want us atomized, when in reality, we are complementary to each other and we work better together. And so the women saying that the men are dusty and the men are broke, and that's why they can't compete for, a PhD over here, a PhD type woman over here, is, just as toxic and unproductive as a man who throws up his hands and flies, halfway across the world to find a wife, when there was probably a very nice woman in his city that he could have found that, would have worked just as suitable. And so, yeah, you got to be careful when you get these mindsets, when you get these movements about things like this, because it's all about a trend, and it's trendy right now to, import yourself a wife. But it's not always cracked up to be. I can assure you, because I know some people who've done it, and it doesn't always work out like how you want it to. And so just you got to keep that in mind. And so going off of that point, there is something that I've heard a lot that I kind of wanted to touch on as well, which is this idea that a real woman will always submit to the guy that she's with or the guy that she's dating. She'll always submit to him because that's just what feminine women do. And I have to give a little bit of pushback to that, Because when it comes to submitting to a man as a woman, it's not that a woman, Abel's journey, he says, everything that was just said does not account for the fact that the actual culture of the USA is a primary undesirable thing that prompts many men to leave. Um, okay, I can understand that, but unless you're gonna completely leave America and stay in that country, because what a lot of these passport bros do is they bring the woman back to America. And so if you feel that the culture itself is the problem, then you have to leave the culture. And so you can't bring her here, you have to go over there. And some do that, but I feel like the most popular thing that I see is them bringing them over here. So that doesn't really solve the problem. But call in, Abe, when David drops the link. Black Lexicon says, no, no, no. They are looking to plant their seed in better value soil. And see, this is what I'm talking about, folks. Just painting with this broad brush. See, there are a lot of good women over here who are still value soil. Black Lexicon, thank you very much. And so we can't get so comfortable with just dismissing, you know, all the women on the Western Hemisphere or that are in these Western countries because it's just not fair. And there are a lot of women, there are a lot of good women who are going to get passed up who are right under your nose. And you're going to be like, where was this woman when I wanted her? And it's like, she was there, she was ready, but you were in, Uzbekistan somewhere. That's where she was. She was here and you were in Uzbekistan. And so, yeah, folks, we cannot have this overarching viewpoint. It's not healthy. Like Lexicon says once again, because valuable black women are becoming harder and harder to come by. Yes, they are. They are more few and far between. But the Bible does say that a virtuous woman, her value is far above rubies. Who can find her? And so, a good woman is not always going to be easy to find, but she's worth it, is what I'm saying. And so to think that you're going to be able to go to some far corner of the world and find a ready-made woman is not always the convenience and the end all be all that you think it's gonna be. That's what I'm saying, is that there are still a lot of women here that can serve you well and be good wives. Don't think that being a passport bro is the first step. KP says, bring them to the front of the class for the eligible bachelors then. Hey, I mean, I have my own platform, and I know of at least one lady who's single, and she's lovely, she's very godly, and she's Hispanic, so I'm sure she knows how to cook. So if there are any eligible bachelors, then I have at least one lady in mind who I can vouch for that she is lovely and she is very high quality. So yeah, that's just one example. Mona D says hello, everyone. Hello, Mona. Thank you for joining us this evening. And so, uh-oh.
Well, hello, Miss Jenny.
Hey, Jared, how are you?
How are you?
I'm terrific. I had a headache that was like trying to come on like a half an hour ago, or maybe an hour ago now, but it cleared up, so I'm feeling really good.
Well, good. I love this topic. I really do. And I'll tell you why. Because I got a little bit of experience with this.
Okay.
My brother is married to a Filipino woman, and she's a Christian, which
Okay.
is the point that I think a lot of people miss. And we talk about being equally yoked. You know what I'm saying? So he grew up in a church in the South, but he met his wife here, which speaks to your point. You know what I'm saying? You can find a woman here. She is actually from the Philippines, but she was pretty much spent most of her time here. But it's still how she was raised. You know what I mean? My mom and my brother and his wife and daughter went to the Philippines this summer. And when
Mm-hmm.
I tell you they treated my mom like she was a queen over there, I mean, I got pictures, man. I'm about to share them with y'all sometime. But to say that it's one of those things where in the Bible it says your people will be my people and your God will be my God. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I remember when my brother and his wife got married in my uncle's church. You know what I'm saying? So she acquiesced to, what my brother was doing. So I was like, yeah, that's how you do it. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of this conversation about passport bros is a lot of sour grapes, to be honest.
Yeah.
Instead of people being the best versions of themselves, they would rather sprinkle salt on somebody else's situation without really understanding exactly the dynamics of what's going on. Men at the end of the day want families they can be proud of. They want
Yeah.
wives they can be proud of. You know what I'm saying? And I would never tell guys that, hey, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. But at the end of the day, you can't help who you love. You know what I'm saying? My other brother is married to a woman who's here. She's, regular FBA, wife or whatever. Same situation. You know what I mean? She got married, with my brother in Tennessee, you know what I'm saying? But he moved to Tennessee because that's where he wanted to take care of his family. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things, man, where you can't really worry about what other people are thinking. You just have to do what's best, for you. In our family, you don't have kids outside of wedlock. We don't do that. You know what I'm saying? So, when people say, you 51 years old, you don't have no kids, that's because I ain't never been married, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's how that works. That's how we do it in our family. I don't know how y'all do it, but we do it over here because we want to raise our kids. We have a lot of knowledge that we want to pass on to our kids. And it takes time to raise kids. You know what I mean? You don't really stop raising kids, when they get 18. You know what I'm saying? It's just you have to walk, your children through each stage of life. You know what I'm saying? From when they're little arm babies all the way up to they get to be 18, and then to the point where they start to have their own families. Your kids are going to need your wisdom throughout their life. So the greatest thing that we can do is to tell our kids to, have a mindset of building a family. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And don't fall trap into this bail system that we have here. And I think a lot of the guys, to speak from them, is that a lot of women, their God is other things.
Yeah.
It's money, it's clout, as the young folks say. It's attention. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole lot of things. And true enough, they may look the part, they may be beautiful and all this other stuff, but at the end of the day, beauty is vain. You know what I'm saying? It's fleeting. Ain't that what the Bible say? You know what I'm saying? It's all about who are you on the inside at the end of the day? Who are you following at the end of the day? And I think you have to find somebody who's basically conscious of what they're doing, especially if you find somebody who's equally yoked, as we like to say, believer, marrying a believer. It just makes everything easier because the rules are pretty much set in place. So if you guys can agree on the bottom line of the rules, then you should be fine. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. You have to have that shared foundation.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So yes, that's very good. See, I knew you were going to be up here and start dropping some wisdom. And so I was about to touch on how a lot of men, they'll say that, oh, I was with this woman and she didn't submit to me, and and she said that, oh, well, you just weren't the like women, they'll say like, oh, I'll submit if I meet a guy who I feel like is worth submitting to. And a lot of men, they give pushback to that statement, and they'll say like, oh, well, a real woman will submit to any man. But I just don't see that. I feel like it is legitimate for a woman to say that, oh, if I meet a guy who I want to submit to, then I will submit, because for one, submission has to be voluntary. It's not submission if if you beat her into submission, if
Right.
she has no choice, if she has no free agency. And so I thought about that, and how a lot of men, they'll give pushback to women who say things like that. But on the other end, we all kind of understand that that's true, because a woman, can do whatever, she can do whatever she's supposed to and be a good woman. But at the end of the day, if the man doesn't want to marry her, then he's not going to marry her. And so we've kind of understood that, men, they know what they want by around 6 months. And if he's not, making any type of marriage moves after 6 months, then he probably just doesn't see you like that. And, we don't say that, oh, every man should be willing to marry, every good woman or every woman that, treats him right or anything like that. We say like, oh, well, there must be something wrong on your end or something like that, as to why he won't marry you. You're just not the woman that he wants. And so why do we lose it? We get lost in translation, if you will.
I'll tell you why, Jenny. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
We don't meet in the places that count when it comes to relationships. We meet in the pelvis, whenever we, feeling frisky, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes we can agree on different things without the other stuff. But at the end of the day, if you don't meet at the heart, then the connection is not going to work. You know what I mean? Most guys want women to submit, but have you asked her, how are you? And who are you? You know what I mean? Can I talk to your father, your family? I want to get to know, because if these people are going to be my family, I want to get to know them. You know what I'm saying? I want you to get to know my family, because if we're going to be married, then, that's very, very important. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times we don't really have those heart to heart conversations, as they used to say, you know what I mean? To make sure that we agree on certain things. You know what I mean? So, and then when we try to force people into these, how should we say this? These standards or these preferences, you know what I'm saying? Well, I'll submit to you if you make six figures, or I'll submit to you if you're 135 pounds. I mean, that's not cultural. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
really not cultural. People are trying to skip past the getting to know you stage. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? They don't have the conversations that you need to have to make sure that this is going to be a good fit. And you know what the thing about it is? We don't make it comfortable for us to say, hey, you know what? This is not going to be a good fit. And I think we should probably move on. But the thing about it is we like to do stuff like ghost people, or
Yeah.
we become frigid, you know what I'm saying? And just don't answer the phone, or just talk to each other in no kind of way, instead of just saying, hey, this is not going to be a good fit. And it's really immature when we handle our relations with each other like that, instead of actually having the real conversation. And I think in these spaces, I think it's a lot of sour grapes that's going on.
Yeah.
People who want the person they want, but they don't want them for whatever the various reasons. But my thing is this: if you've never been trained to be a husband or a wife, then I suggest you get under a good pastor to figure out exactly what it is that you need to do. I heard Take Heed the other day say you have to go in and clean out your heart, because that's where God lives. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to meet your wife in the presence of the Lord, both of you have to make sure that your heart is cleaned out, because that's where the Holy Spirit lives. You see what I'm
That's right.
saying? So if your programming is of this world, then what's going to happen is God can't come in and create peace. And that's the main reason why we have chaos in our relationships, because we have not made room for God. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it makes so much sense that it's backed up by scripture, because like you're saying, you have to make room for God in your heart. And so that's why the Bible says, be ye not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And
Correct.
so there's no room for, the Holy Spirit to move in and start guiding you into all truth, leading you into all truth, if you have all this worldly junk in there that's clouding your mind and your judgment. You know, as a woman, how am I going to be able to make a wise decision as to who to marry if my mind is full of, he has to make six figures, he has to have a six pack, he has to, look like this, he has to perform like this in bed. And it's like all this stuff that really doesn't amount to a hill of beans at the end of the day. When the Bible has standards that I'm not dwelling on and I'm not thinking about. And so you're absolutely
Absolutely
right.
right. Yeah. But like I said earlier, we don't take the time out to even have a relationship with God. As a matter of fact, I'm having a show tomorrow called Jesus is Not Your Sugar Daddy. You know what I'm saying? It's about women who love to say that God is their husband. So I'm gonna make sure we address that issue real soon. So I think a lot of times women want men to be Jesus and want him to be perfect. You know what I'm saying? God will never send you a finished spouse. That's up to you to decorate and fashion to yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's like the
Oh,
Bible says you have to remove every spot, wrinkle, and blemish and present your bride to yourself. But I don't think a lot of guys want to put in the work to do that. But in essence, that's what you're supposed to do. You see what I'm saying? You're supposed to fashion your wife to your needs and vice versa and learn each other. You know, that's the problem. We don't want to learn each other. We want to just make somebody just do what we want them to do, or they should already come ready, standard to go. You know what I'm saying? Batteries not included. You know, you have to add your own batteries. You see what I'm saying? To make sure the polarity is still the same. You know what I mean?
yes. And you're the more you talk, that's why I like when people come up, because when other people talk, it brings other things to my mind. And so hearing you say that, it reminds me of, just in my own marriage. Like when I got married almost 3 years ago, my anniversary is coming up at the end of March, and I just knew I was ready to be a wife. I felt like I was so prepared. I was like, yes, I'm ready. I'm mature enough. I know what I'm doing. What man wouldn't want to marry me? Oh my God.
Right.
And it's just so ridiculous to think about, just in the, short amount of time that it's been. Because one of the major things that I just had totally dropped the ball on was that I didn't really know how to cook anything when I first got married. And, I'm just so thankful that my husband is so gracious and patient with me. And he has just, worked with me, and I've seen myself grow in these past, almost 3 years. And it's like, man, you know, this is, I guess this is what, marriage is. Like, this is what marriage is supposed to do. And vice versa with my husband. He, you know, I have this firm policy of never bad mouthing my spouse on the internet. But I will say that, he is human, and being with him and loving him through his humanness, I feel like it has made me a better person, and it has made me a richer individual, and has broadened my character. And I just feel like that's such a lost art today, is that, people, they don't have unconditional love for their spouse like they're supposed to. And so, and they think like, oh, well, I didn't sign up for this, or this is too much for me, and I can't handle this, and I just don't, this isn't for me. I'm not cut out for this. And then they leave, and they're not just ending their relationship, but they're ending their own personal growth. And so many people today, they're so shallow, and they don't have any depth. They don't have any grit to them. And I believe that one of the primary reasons that we have marriage, and why God takes it so seriously, is for the fact that, because God cares about us individually. He cares about us as people, every single one of us. And so he wants to see what's best for us. And we don't always know what's best for us. And so we think that, X, Y, and Z happened in my marriage and I had to go because I couldn't tolerate it. When in reality, going through those things and growing past them makes you a better person. And so, it's really unfortunate how many people lose their blessing and, block their blessing by, cutting it short. It's like working out. You're never going to build muscle if you don't push yourself, and if it doesn't hurt. If you don't leave the gym sore, you're not doing anything. And
Correct.
so, I definitely have seen that, like you were saying, that, we as people, we don't take the time for each other. We don't have patience for each other anymore. And it's a shame, shame on us for taking our vows so lightly, taking our life so lightly. It's embarrassing. And another thing that you mentioned that triggered something else is how we're not focused on the right things. And it reminded me of this interview that I saw that Cardi B did years ago, where she was talking about how, oh yeah, I've met guys, and I had guys that liked me and they were really loyal, but at the end of the day, loyalty is not everything. And then fast forward like 4 years, and she's going through a divorce because her husband keeps cheating on her. So it's like, if only she had put the main thing as the main thing, and actually, thought and prioritized what's actually important. Because, Offset, he's rich and he's famous. and, whatever qualities that she likes about him, she was probably thinking about that more than the fact that this man, he's a dog. He's a runaround. He is not someone that I feel like I could put my trust in. And it's a shame. Um, and so, God help us that we are just so easily swayed from one thing to the next, and that our attention is so easily divided.
That's because we put our faith in the wrong things. You know what I'm saying? We look to our neighbor to say, Mrs. Jones' husband bought her brand new Mercedes. He must really love her. You know what I'm saying? Don't you love me like Mr. Jones loved Mrs. Jones? Where's my Mercedes? You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. But at the end of the day, it's really not about that. You know what I'm saying? It's about making sure you take care of each other and make sure you have grace for each other. You know what I'm saying? My thing is this: I think guys really don't understand that when you get a wife, a real good wife, a real good wife who listens to God, that is a blessing. You see what I'm saying? That is where you get your favor from. A lot of women like to use the slogan, a man who found a wife found a good thing, but they always leave off the part that says, and he finds favor with the Lord. And what happens is you'll get a lot of women who like to use that scripture to automatically import the glory from God as if it's implied. Well, men, it should not be implied. It should really be there. You see what I'm saying? That's the reason why you have those conversations, because technically you're talking to God through her. And if she's not invited God into her heart, then what's going to happen is going to leave your heart homeless. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You need to give yourself a sprinkle for that.
You're right. I keep the sprinkles on deck. But yeah, that's the problem, man. We want to worship things of this world instead of, actually doing the Lord's work. But I think a lot of people get embarrassed because they haven't had a relationship or they haven't taken the time. I know a lot of guys like to go to work and they think that I'm just supposed to provide, but there's another piece of protection in our heart that we have to work on. And unless you don't have a relationship with God, then you're going to have this pushback, from her from time to time because she doesn't feel safe. And one of the things that women love is security. And if you haven't been able to secure her heart, all she's going to do is keep putting up hurdles until she can figure out a way how to get rid of you or find somebody else who's actually has the ear of the Lord. You know what I'm saying? A man who has the Lord's ear. You know what I'm saying? So it's very difficult, but at the same time, it's possible. But the thing about it is you have to have two people who are willing, because life is going to throw you all types of foolishness. And the only thing that you're going to have to cling on to is each other. You see what I'm saying? When the kids grow up and leave and you get old and gray and you taking each other to the doctor's office, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if y'all been to the doctor's office or not, but there's always some old couple, sitting there, and one of them is giving the other one coffee, or the wife is wiping his mouth off. It's a very tenderness that you see with old people. And I don't see it with younger people as much because we don't take time out to be tender with each other. You see what I'm saying? That stuff matters. It really does.
Yeah. And so bringing it full circle back to, the original topic is that, we think, or, like I said, people, they want to choose the path of least resistance. And so a lot of men, they're getting swayed into this idea that, all the women over here, they're no good. All the women that, would walk with you hand in hand at the doctor's office, those women are all, at the back end of their life. And so now I have to go across, sea and land to find me a good wife. And it's like, first off, I think that, a man who likes a woman, if he can, a man can wrangle in a rogue woman, a lot easier than a woman can, make her man level out and be serious.
Right.
So it's a lot easier for a man to control a woman than a woman to control a man, is what I'm saying.
Right.
And so, a man, if he likes a woman over here and he, sets his sights on to pursue her, then, there's a very good chance that he could actually, win her over, and she could, submit to him and she could respect him and all that good stuff. And so, when it comes to the man side, you guys have a lot more options and a lot more leeway in the scenario. That's why I think it's so sad and pathetic that so many men are just, giving up on their Western women, and it's not necessary.
Right.
Um, and there are a lot of different avenues that you can go about it. Like one of my brothers, he had gotten out of a relationship with this girl that he had been dating for a while, and he's how old is he? He's in his early 30s. Trying to think about how old my brother is, but yeah, I think he's in his early 30s. And so, he had left his girlfriend, and he was figuring out what he wanted to do next and where he wanted to move date wise next. And I told him, I was like, you should probably go down to community college and, get somebody who doesn't have any baggage and get somebody who's like 19 or 20,
Right.
that's probably somebody who they're still young enough and impressionable enough that, you can turn them into the kind of woman that you want her to be instead of some woman who's your age and has had, 4
Trauma.
long-term relationships.
Right. A whole bunch of trauma.
Yes. 4 long-term relationships. One of them was a broken engagement, and all this extra baggage and trauma that is unnecessary. And so a lot of them don't want to hear that. They think that that's grooming, even though she's a full-grown adult by 20 years old.
Right.
They think that oh, why doesn't can't he just get a woman his own age? Well, life is not fair. Life is not equal. Men and women are not equal in the dating world. That's just not the way it is. And
Right.
so my brother, as a guy in his, early 30s, he would probably have a better option going with some woman who's in her early 20s or, in her late 20s at the latest, and so it just makes more sense to go that kind of route versus, okay, let me just hop on a plane to, Yemen or something and try to find me a woman over there. And it's like, there are just other ways to go about it than, to be a passport bro. And so I guess it's just important to, make sure you weigh all your options because, like I've heard it said on other places, is that, a lot of men, they go over there, they find these women and they seem like they're just so perfect and angelic. And then they get back over here and, all that glitters is not gold.
Surprise.
And so what a shame would it be to, invest that time and money into that scenario and have it to, bust versus when you could have just stayed where you were. And so,
Right.
yeah,
I'm gonna bring up another guest. I like to yield the microphone. I don't want to hog it to somebody who's greater than me, and somebody who has more wisdom than me. None other than the one and only R. Payne.
Hey, yeah. Hey, Jenny, how you doing? Hey, lost in translation. How you doing? Oh man, he's gone. I didn't know he was gonna
No,
leave.
I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Hey, listen. I agree with your 2 points that you said about from the passport bro side and then from the American side. The thing I do agree with is that I don't like the narrative that there's no good women left in the United States or in the West. I don't like that narrative. And one of the reasons is selfish because I have 2 daughters and I don't think they're anything like these people on these podcasts. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sure they're
And
not.
huh?
I said, I'm sure they're not.
Yeah, they're not. And that's one. And two, I think some of the guys just don't want to go through the numbers, right? Because a lot of the good girls and good ladies hide behind and look like all the rest of the ones. So you can't really, it's a truism that you can't really tell who's for a real relationship and who's not. And
Mhm.
you got to go out. The dating apps can't give you that information because the people who use dating apps only swipe on the people they like. And it's only a small percentage of men who actually get picked.
Mhm.
And then a lot of men have lost the ability to cold contact.
Yeah.
And women have something to do with that too, with the Me Too movement and the way they treat men when they reject them, right? So
Yeah.
as if a guy, listen, if a moderately handsome guy or a moderately looking guy goes up to a woman and he's not what she wants, she doesn't let him down easy. And
No.
that same lady will find a guy she thinks is handsome and he can say almost anything to her. Those are truisms,
Yeah.
So so guys have to deal with that. Now, guys are weak, right? See, these days. I gotta say, I'm old, right? They call me the old guy, right? If I was in shape, I would probably look pretty good because I'm 65 years old, right? And when I was dating, I wear contact lenses. These are like reading glasses because I'm close to the screen. But when I was 16, 17, man, I had thickies on. I mean, thickies. And to
Okay.
go up to a girl to talk to her with them damn things on, I feel like Hercules. Because the rejection was unmerciful. Okay, but I still had to do it. I still had to do it. I don't think guys have those kind of chops. But do they need to become passport bros? First of all, we got to stop. I'm gonna talk a little bit. We don't have to talk in absolutes. It's never going to be a movement where all the guys are going to leave. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Men have been passport bros for decades, hundreds of years. From the guys who went to the military, to people who just like to be adventurous, to all kinds of things. So there's never going to be a point where all the men are going to leave, all the women. That's just not going to happen. It just seems that way because these echo chambers tend to amplify the worst of us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you are hitting on a point though, right? So when you go and you leave, the one or two guys who say all the women in America suck, they get the most play. So it kind of says that all the guys think that way, which is not. It's not true.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see if you agree with me or not. Let me just shut up and just tell me what you think I'm hitting on some of those points.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And so, yeah, so what you're saying, it reminds me of some things about myself, because, it's so hard to like talk about compliments that you've been given because you don't want to sound prideful or whatever. But, I come up here and not just here, but like on my own platform and I go on other people's platforms and
I
other
seen
people's.
you. This might be risky. I seen you over there. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, okay. I didn't know you saw me over there,
Yeah.
but yeah. And so like men will say like, oh, I wish that I had a woman like Jenny, or I wish Jenny was single, or things like that. And I take that all with a grain of salt because they don't know me personally and they don't know what it's like to really deal with me on a day-to-day basis. So I put out a good front here on the internet, I do have to say. But you know, when I was single, I didn't really sound like this as much when I was single, and so a lot of because I was just talking to Jared about how marriage has made me grow so much in these past almost 3 years,
Right.
and how the woman that you see before you that has all these little catchy clips and says all this shocking stuff and is so red pilled now and I'm a pick me, and I was kind of like this when I was single, but I wasn't exactly like this. And so like how you said about how the women who are good women, they're sometimes too close or they look too much like the women who are garbage, and so it's hard to really decipher what's what. And I can see that because that's how it kind of was back for me. And I wore clothes that were, similar to, how these worldly women dress. And I had the long raptor nails and I
Oh, I
had the
know you did.
eyelashes. And I know it sounds hard to
No, you
believe.
did. Yeah. So oh my God. No, you
I
did.
did. I
Oh
worked because
my
I worked at
God.
a nail salon when I was single. I worked full time at a nail salon, and so I practiced on myself. I practiced on my coworkers, and I had the long crazy nails. I had the fake lashes. I used to
Get
wear
out of
wigs.
here. Let me
Yeah.
ask you a question. Now, I'm going to cut you off for a second. What did your husband say? How did your husband see you through all of that? That might be helpful to some guys. How did he see you through all of that?
Well, at the time that my husband met me, I didn't look quite like that.
Okay.
So it's funny and something that my husband and I we always kind of joke about. Ever since is that when he met me, my hair was out, like
Yeah.
it was natural.
Okay.
And I
That's
say
rough.
that my hair looked wild, and he was like, "Oh well, I like the wild look." And so it so happened that when he met me, I looked more like I look now,
Okay.
and so I didn't have any fake nails because I was working with food at the time that he met me,
Okay.
so I couldn't have those crazy nails. And I just didn't look how I had looked for other guys that I knew or that I was dating. And so he kind of saw me how I am right now, but And so he liked that. He's really into that. He likes, natural stuff. He doesn't like the fake stuff, which, I knew that there were some men who liked that stuff, but I didn't know at the time that that was how most men felt. Like, now that I've been introduced to these spaces and I'm listening to men, like I didn't listen to red pill content when I was single. I was ignorant. And so, now that I'm in these spaces and I'm hearing these men talk, it's like, no, almost no men like the fake nails and the fake lashes and the fake hair. I didn't realize that.
Well,
And
let me
so
ask you this: what kind of men were approaching you with all the other stuff? Do you tell? So, okay, you have your husband on one end, but before him, when you had all that stuff on, what kind of quality men were looking at you? You know what I'm saying? What kind of men were they that were coming at you when you had all that stuff?
it was, these kind of guys that these women talk about. These guys who just see women as disposable. These guys who are just full of themselves and they're trying to just get notches in their belt. And I think that that's not a coincidence that the kind of men that those women attract, they go hand in hand. And so like I was looking like the world and I was attracting worldly guys. And then it just so happened that when I was like in a kind of in a down time where I just didn't have the stuff on like I normally did, I met a guy who actually turned out to be quality. And so I don't think that's a coincidence. Um,
Okay.
and so many women, they wear all this gaudy stuff and they wear all the face full of makeup. I've never been into makeup. That's one thing that just, I guess, never just really appealed to me. It just seemed like a lot of hassle. But they wear the face full of makeup. They wear the fake hair, the nails, and they wear the tight, revealing stuff. And then they wonder why these garbage men are the only ones who approach them. Where are all the good men? Well, the good men are staying 100 yards away from you because you look like a prostitute and they don't want to be seen with you.
No,
And
see, that's important information though that you're telling people because you've been on. I don't know whether you acquiesce to any of these guys. It's none of my business. But the point is, you have a story to tell, a before and after story to tell, and maybe it's just the grace of God that your husband saw you in your natural state. Like for example, when I met my wife, I was like celibate for at least 6 to 9 months. It's not like I was having women throwing themselves at me, but even when I didn't go on dates. I didn't try to pick up any girls for a while. I just kind of avoided casual encounters as best I could. Now, it wasn't like it was so hard for me, right? I didn't have a cadre of women. But if I saw a lady that I could take out to lunch, I could do this, do that. I just didn't do it if I didn't think she would have been somebody I could have built something with. And so
mhm,
when I met my wife, it was just something different about her. And I always say, now that I think about it, my headspace was in a position to recognize her when I saw her,
mhm.
you know, as different than anybody else. So the first time I met her was probably the last time we didn't speak to each other. We've been talking since the first day I met her, and now it's 36 years later.
Aw.
So it's just like that. So it's just so I think I tell guys this, and the guys, they say, "Oh, you too old. You don't know what the hell you're talking about." I said, "Listen, if you look at all women as a piece of meat, okay, how are you going to recognize the one you want if the first thing you're thinking about is just knocking it out, right? You ain't giving yourself a chance to see behind the veil because we know a lot of modern women have layers before you can get to who they really are because of the modern society for, the internet, the attention they want, this and that. So it could be a good woman under there. You just can't see it because you don't stay around long enough to peel back the layers. And I don't know how
Right.
much that's going to really cost you, but some time, you know what I'm saying? Doesn't have to cost you a lot of money if you're in your square. Like if a woman says, I'm not going to the Cheesecake Factory, she's eliminated. If I'm paying and you tell me you ain't going somewhere where I'm offering, then you're not the one for me. It's as
Yeah.
simple as that. So there's guys who don't want to do that. But anyway, so I like some of the stuff that you're saying, so I don't disagree. Okay, hey, go ahead, fellas. Hey, guys. You got some more guests up here. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you go ahead and introduce your other guests.
Thank you, Art Payne.
Yeah.
I value the contribution that you gave. It was good.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it. You just stick around for a while, see what's going on, see what these guys. Maybe I might learn something. Trey always try to teach me. Hey, what's
Nope,
up, Lou?
nope,
What's up,
nope.
Trey?
You've
Hey,
been
what's up?
married for 30 plus years. You know it all. Well, I didn't realize you was that old. Wow, that's amazing.
Man, well, okay. I'm on the other side, but I ain't well that that, but yeah, 65, man. Shoot, I got my card, I got my Medicare card, man. What you talking
Yes.
about?
Wow. Yeah, this is
All
a
right,
good
Justin.
this is a good conversation. I was just thinking about how far we went away from what I believe is our actual true culture, and that's really biblical culture. We're best when we actually look toward Jesus. Anything else, um, I don't know. It could be anything else. It just opens up cans of worms when you do it that way. Because this current culture is really trash culture. It's and I don't believe it serves us that well. But I don't know. I don't know. Trey might think otherwise or something like that. But I'm for me, if we've our current model is really warped. Like we talk about dating a lot. I see a lot of the other cultures, they do more courting. Um,
Hmm.
in if you've ever been in the collegiate spaces, all the other races, they would have pretty much their lives planned. When they're about to get married, they would have known this person. They would have known who they was going to get married to for like 10 years. And then when they get married, they have this wonderful ceremony, and it's elaborate. Both families are involved, and they get into a house with no debt. They're like spending all kind of money to make sure that they're straight when they get started, and we just don't have that. But I believe
No.
that I believe that if we kind of you know tweak things a little bit, maybe go toward courting, it might be a little better. And I don't know what Trey's gonna say because he probably say, I don't want nobody involved in my life and all this other stuff. But I think it's good just because I believe that common sense kind of um, is kind of the enemy to the heart. You know, it's that. But I love him though. I've been there where I chose the absolutely trash person because I loved her so much. But if I would have gotten everybody involved, they could have told me, "Hey, that person's not it." So I'm just thinking about that.
Okay. All right. So Lou, this is my first time being introduced to you. So, some good stuff that you're saying. And Trey, the chat seems to have a lot to say about you and the kind of things that you say. I'm not familiar with you either, but don't hold back for my sake.
First of all, good evening, Jenny. I haven't had the pleasure. It's nice to meet you.
Likewise.
No, I give some contrary thoughts, and I encourage people to think a little bit more than surface level. I'm a results based type of person. I believe in if you knew better, you do better, and we have to acknowledge the fact that society is the way that it is because maybe there is just a group of people that are no longer believing in the old way. We have to acknowledge that. We have to accept that there are just some people who are never going to be the type of holy roller that my grandmother was. It's not going to happen. That's just the reality. Whether or not it's right, whether or not it's morally correct, is irrelevant. That's just the reality. Less and less people are going to church. Less and less people are getting married. That's just the reality, and that's where I come from. I come from a reality-based sense of if it was so good, why isn't X, Y, and Z happening? Right? If church was great, if God was what it's supposed to be, if religion, however you want to put it, if it was what it's supposed to be, why aren't more people gravitating to that? Now that has nothing to do with my personal beliefs. I'm just challenging the thought. What I personally believe is contrary to what I'm challenging. I'll be honest with you. But I cannot look at the world and go, ah, they wrong. There's no way they're wrong. When the majority are starting to lean that way, right? People say that the divorce rate is at 50%. It's not. It's over 50% at this point. And that's just the divorces we know about. We haven't even begun to talk about the separations and the soft divorces, right? So it's well over
Mm.
50%. right? If the statistics say that 1 in 4 black women will get married, I have to acknowledge that. I can't just ignore it. I have to acknowledge it. That's a real thing. So that's all. That's why they're in the chat going up, because that's where I come from. I come from a reality base. Okay, I understand it. Listen, I agree with everything that Lou said. Everything he said. But I can't ignore the reality. The reality is that a lot of people, they like the sexy ways. And I'm in Platinum Fitness right now. There is a billboard of Megan Thee Stallion about 20 feet away from me. It just
Yeah.
is what it is. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. I have to acknowledge that there is a part of our society, while it may be morally bankrupt, it has conquered. It's worked. It's worked. And people are falling for that. We see videos of small children twerking. We see videos of small children dancing on tables. We see videos of young girls on poles, right? I just sent an article to JT for his show about 6th graders doing feet pics for money. That's the reality. I'm not coming up with this stuff. This is the reality. So that's where I'm coming from, Jenny. That's the only reason why they're doing it. They think, oh, because that's where I come from. But it's not. I believe in God. I always have. I was raised in the church. My grandmother, Lou, got holy roller. That's what I call my grandmother, a holy roller. I was raised in the church. But I also have seen a lot of things. Been to Iraq twice, was a former police officer. I've seen a lot of nastiness and evil. I have looked evil dead in the eye. I've had people tell me, I'm going to delete you. I'm going to grape your daughter. Evil people. I can't ignore that and act like that's not a reality. That's all.
Okay. And I can understand that. So I guess what you're saying is that you feel like you're coming from a realistic standpoint or a realist standpoint, and it can be misconstrued as being a Debbie Downer or being a defeatist. Is that what you're saying?
A negative Nancy, you got it. You hit the nail on the head. Yep. It comes off that way, but that's not my intention. My intention is to bring us back to reality. Because I truly believe that if we want any type of change in this world, there's just a portion, a generation there's a gap. We're gonna have to just skip some people because they're done. There's nothing we can do for them. They're done. You can try. Maybe some will catch on. Maybe some will cling on, but the majority of them will not. We have a lot of young children. That's why I mentor 8 to 18. I'm trying to catch these guys when they're younger about investing their money and yada, 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 right? Because obviously they'll grow up, they'll be better. But when we start talking about trying to get 40-year-old women to change, it ain't happening, baby. That glue has dried. It's done. It's just not happening. You are much better off teaching a 12-year-old young girl what it's like to, be feminine and all of those things, and work with her as she grows, so that she grows into her femininity, as she grows into a woman.
Right. Okay.
I mean,
I can't believe I agree with Trey. Send that asteroid to Roos. Now, speaking of troublemakers, I've seen him on I think it was, can't remember if it was CT or Risky's channel, but he was up there called this stink. So you control yourself down there, Roos. What were you about to say, Lou?
I was gonna say I totally agree with him, and that's why I was saying that we should go back to more like a community-based decisions when it comes to dating, because I think many times our hearts really fail us. We look at something, we want the woman to be perfectly shaped, and we want her to be able to, cook, clean, and all this other stuff. That's great. I mean, I don't know. I want them to be able to cook and clean, but I know I'm a better cook, so. I mean, I'm really awesome in the kitchen. So a lot of times I'm somebody that I will work a 10-hour shift and then come home, I'll cook myself just because I know I can cook. I got my spices in order, and everybody's going to be happy. But I think that we need to have it more community-based because then we can stay in that reality. Right now, this trash culture ain't working. I got 2 boys, and if you was to ask them right now, do they, what color they want in a girl, they're gonna both say anybody but black. And that actually hurts my feelings, but I'm not surprised just because where they go to school at is not how I raise my kids. there's a lot of trash culture within these schools, and it's because of the parents. And so this is the reality that we're going to face. We're going to face on the top end a lot of old people that's still believing that God is going to send them somebody, despite them not even believing in God themselves. And then this new generation, this younger generation, that's saying, I'm already done with that. They're already talking passport bros at 10, 11 years old.
Yeah, we had a BMU son on. Remember, I asked him, "What would you do if you can't find a black girl?" He said, "Oh, I go to Thailand. I got my passport, go to Thailand." He's what? He was 16.
Yeah, 15, 16, something like that. Yeah.
You know, I want to touch something Trey said a minute ago. He said a lot of people ain't, you know, the church ways really ain't working. Well, Trey, I put it like this: how many fat people you know come through the gym and they stay fat?
Damn it, Lost.
Come on now. Let me tell you something. It's a lot of people that go to church, that sit on the front pew, and they don't get no learning. You know what I'm saying? It's just they there for show, you know, to put the church hat on, put the gloves on, and look pretty, but they don't listen to nothing the pastor say. And you can tell because it don't get on the inside. It don't convict them. You know what I'm saying? It's the same way when people go to the gym. Unless you're in there sweating, showing up consistently, you know, eating right, getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, it's not gonna work. And then church is pretty much the same way. It's like a bath, man. It only works if you keep doing it. You know what I'm saying? I want to welcome Tarus to the show. Tarus, how are you today, sir?
Hey, good evening, Lost. Good evening,
Good to have
Lou,
you, brother.
Trey, Miss Jenny, Pang. Hey.
Hello.
Hey, I wanted to get a couple questions before I make, I guess, a statement, just some clarification. And first, yes, I must say it out loud too. I can't believe I agree with Trey, but Trey was absolutely correct. By the way, Trey, I also say people need a software update, right? You know what I mean? People need to acknowledge certain things. And one of the things I need to acknowledge is I've been around these streets for about a year now. And just listening to how Christians describe everything, is it fair for me to say that most Christians believe that we're all God's children?
We're supposed to be. We're supposed to be.
There's nothing in the Bible, according to Christians that I've interacted with, that says a woman has to be in the house. You gotta have a job and all that stuff, right? There's nothing in the Bible that says she needs to be a housewife.
Well, there is a verse that says that God's will for the young women is that they marry, bear children, and guide the home. So that verse explicitly says that it is God's will for women to guide the home. And to what extent you can properly do that while having an outside job is questionable, but that is what God wants.
But that doesn't imply that a woman's only role is in the house. That's scripture.
And you could work from home as well these days.
Right.
See, there's nothing new under the sun, so that wouldn't just
so to actually give some credibility to the passport bros. There's no contradiction between being a passport bro and being a believer in Christ. Right?
No, there's no inherent contradiction. But the issue can come when you are putting, oh, she has to be fit, she has to be feminine, she has to be friendly, she has to know how to cook and be all these other things above. Well, first she has to be a Christian. And so it's much more likely that you'll find a Christian woman in a Western country than you will in one of these backwards countries.
Are you sure about that?
I'm sorry, Jen, I disagree with that.
You sure about that?
That's not necessarily true, sis.
What makes you say that?
Like, I believe the Philippines,
because I've been to a lot of
Christian country. I believe a lot of places where the Europeans conquered, they speak Spanish. Those are Christians. There's a lot of Christians in Africa. There's a lot of Christians everywhere.
There's a lot of Christians in Southeast Asia.
Yep, Philippines is heavy.
No. I think a lot of the times, Jeannie, what you're describing is sometimes that doesn't have anything to do with the Bible. That has more to do with cultural standards. For example, Jeannie, would you agree with me that Christianity has nothing to do with whether or not you would want to lose, to Lost Point, whether or not you want to lose weight or not? right? Christians need to stay healthy too, right? They need to
Yeah.
eat right and do all these different things. And at the end of the day, no matter how Christian or religious you want to be, you're only attracted to whoever you're attracted to. Like guys, unfortunately, it don't matter how religious you are, if you don't feel that spark or you're not sexually attracted to that woman, that marriage ain't going to be anything, right? It's going
Well,
to be hollow.
here's the thing, Terus. Here's the thing. Attraction is more than just physical. You know what I'm saying?
But initially, Lost, right?
Yes, you want your wife to be beautiful, but at the end of the day, you want her software to be software.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? You want her to be gentle. You want her to be loving. Now, as far as a woman working outside of the house, there's proof in Proverbs 31 that this woman has her own money, has her own land. But here's the thing. She brings all that stuff to the house to spoil those under her. The problem that we see in the Western world is that we have a lot of women who get this stuff and they don't share. And then they start crying about 50-50 and all this other stuff. Men already know that you're supposed to bring everything into the house, and it benefits the marriage. It benefits the family. And the issue that we have in the Western world is that we try to use stuff and things to medicate how we feel about ourselves on the inside. You know what I'm saying? If I get a Louis bag, I'm somebody. If I get some red bottoms, I'm somebody. You know what I'm saying? If I get a Mercedes Benz, I'm somebody. Well, here's the thing. You shouldn't be aspiring to that level of medication to make you want to believe you're something that you're not, because all that stuff can be taken away. You see what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, when you die, it's going to go to the landfill anyway. Eventually, all of us are going to the scrap heap in the sky. But my thing is this: what are you going to do at the end of the day? What are you going to do at the end of your life? Because I was watching RBN this today, and he was talking about, when you die as a man, all people are going to do is fight over your stuff, and you're gone, and you're going to be an afterthought after the fact.
Yep.
So the main thing is to make sure when you do find somebody, there's nothing wrong with hustle. There's nothing wrong with grit. But as long as she's bringing it back to the house, then I don't have a problem with it. You see what I'm saying?
Lost.
So,
I agree with you.
Am I a little bit confused? Or I do agree that her Christianity, her faith matters, right? But in the process of things, when I'm out and about in the world and I see a woman, I can't see whether or not she's a Christian immediately.
You're right.
The first thing that I see is what's on the outside. I see what she's wearing. I see her figure. I see those things first. It is after I approach her, after I make contact with her, right, that I get to find out whether or not, right, she's a Christian. And then we can go from there. I do agree that matters. And I will say this. When I was in Brazil, I was asked, was I a Christian? When I was in Czech Republic, I was asked if I was a Christian. I have been asked about my beliefs outside of this country by women who want to date me far more often than I have inside the United States. As a matter of fact, the last woman I was with, she was more atheist than anything. You know what I mean? So it's just, I find it interesting. A lot of people think that the people overseas, the women overseas, are not are not believers, but they are. They're heavy into it, especially in the Colombias and the Brazils, which you wouldn't expect. But they will tell you, "Hey, I believe in God, and it's important to me that the man that I'm with also believes in God."
See, Lost. I agree with what you said until I put my own experience, because unfortunately, it's not Western society. It's more America. Because I brought this up before, that America and the materialism, the culture, this might get me in trouble with women, Trey. But the thing I've noticed being married to a woman born and raised in Germany is everything is not ethnically based, it's nationality based. I've noticed from my experience dating American women that white, Black, Latino, the only difference tends to be the hair products used in the bathroom. Right? I could find a submissive Black woman just as easy as I could find a A-type personality white girl and everything in between in America. My wife technically is a Western woman, is Germany. The difference is culturally, right? The way she eats, she does want to go 50-50. She does want to have everything back in the house. You get what I mean? Like, that's the difference between her and an American woman. That would be the difference between a black German woman and a black American woman. You get what I mean? Because the common denominator is German versus American, or British versus American, or etc., or, you know, and so on and so on. And so my wife was in Germany raised with traditional Judeo-Christian values, if you will, if she's a Western woman. But the difference is that you look at my wife and her family, you look at Germany, the obesity rates, it's non-existent compared to America. You get what I mean? The women are healthier. They're more naturally fit or in shape in general than American women. And that's not just to do with public transportation. That has to do with just lifestyle.
And
right?
the food.
And the food, the lifestyle, how they carry themselves, the way they think. As a matter of fact, the way that they view love and marriages and things like that. And so you don't have to swear off the West in order to find this traditional idea of a wife. I guess that was my point, Loss. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but here's the thing. It's really comes down to programming. If you're a Christian no matter where you are. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with you. But here's the thing. There's a couple of things that are perplexing me. Now, when you said that you're in Germany, right?
No, my wife's
Germany?
I'm here.
Yeah, but while you were in Germany, was it a more of a homogeneous type of population where most of the people were of one color, one nationality, that type of thing? Was it more 80-20, 90?
So in Germany, Lost, while there is 80% of the population would be considered American version white,
okay,
I can make a solid argument that it's the European melting pot, because you got Somalis there, you got Middle Easterns, you got the Turkish population. They're the second biggest minority group or the largest minority group in Germany. You know what I mean? So it's very culturally mixed up. But Lost, the reason why is because, like, if you talk to somebody from France, it doesn't matter if you're an African French or Spanish French. The point is you're French. So you can't tell a white French person that a white French man, if you go tell him that he's the same as a German white man because they're both white, you probably get punched in the face. You get what I mean?
That brings me back to what I was saying earlier. It proves my point. In America, we're pretty much landlocked. So it's not like in Europe where you can easily go from France to Great Britain to Germany. Right. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. Over here, you don't see people going, USA, USA. You know what I'm saying? You don't have that. We have something different here because we're built different. You know what I'm saying? We got different idiosyncrasies, a big, huge melting pot. You see what I'm saying? So our thing is marketing, advertising, consumerism, making people work 40 hours, 60 hours, 80 hours, making you prove your worth, that type of thing. It's more of a test of who you are when you can accumulate. It's more of an accumulation type of thing. And the Bible says we really shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be creating idols amongst ourselves, which is the twist. Because you can have, like I told Trader earlier, you can have a whole bunch of people coming to church, but if you're really not paying attention, then it starts to rear its ugly head. But the thing about it is, it's underneath. It's there, but you really can't see it. It's one of those things where you can see somebody, but they're not aware of their situation. You see what I'm saying? It's subtle programming that we don't pay attention to. And you don't know it until you start talking to them. You know what I mean? If you haven't been trained, if you haven't really understood the word, if you hadn't really figured out exactly how people operate, and the killing part about it is you really don't necessarily have to be a Christian. If you study psychology, you can understand these things. You see what I'm saying? On how people move. Because they're going to tell you.
What is your opinion? What is your opinion? I'm sorry, you just really sparked a good question. Lost, what is your opinion on Passport Bros and the relationship between the women they're looking for in the Bible? Do you think there is a real correlation there, or what they're searching for?
Jenny, this is your show. I think we should ask Jenny because she's the one who brought it up. So Jenny, it's on you. I think Tarus answered a very good question that we've been talking about this evening. I think is Jenny stuck?
Did she freeze? Yeah, I think she froze.
Yeah, I think she froze. Well, here's the thing. She brought up a few other things about. She gave some different examples of different things in the Bible where.
Coming in clearly?
Yeah, you coming in now. Can you hear us now? Come in, Jenny. Hold on, let me put some sprinkles on you. Come on in. There you go. Can you hear us now, Jenny? I think your computer's catching up now.
My stuff is slowing down.
Yeah. I think we're putting the pressure on your PC.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, could you answer Terusa's question?
Okay. Yes. So I heard the question. Do I think that there's a connection between the passport bros and the women that they look for in relation to the Bible? And I would say no, because I don't think it's coming from a place of, wanting a woman who's biblical. I think it's just coming from a place of wanting a woman who's going to do whatever it is that they want. So there are men who are probably
Jenny, it sounds like you calling it from another dimension.
leaning men who are atheists, men who want to do what they say. That might be.
That's a common misconception about women overseas. I think that people really think that women overseas are weak and doormats, and that we just kind of go over there and we just kind of just tell them what to do, and you're gonna do what I say, and I'm an American and I'm a man and I got more money than you. It just is not like that. It is not like that. Listen, Filipino women will talk that mess right back to you. Right in your face. In your face. They do not back down from you. Colombian women are not afraid of you. And they got about 14 brothers that will cut you. They're not. There's just a misconception that because the woman knows how to, I don't even want to use the word submissive, because a lot of them, it's not even necessarily submission. They're just cooperative. They just want to get along with you. They don't want to fight with you. They don't want to be disruptive. They just want, okay, if you want to go to the beach, fine, let's go to the beach. I'm not going to argue with you. You know what I mean? You said it's going to rain. Okay, it probably is going to rain. Let me grab my umbrella. Even if I grab my umbrella and not one drop of water comes out, you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to fight with you. I think a lot of people in America think that women like that are docile and, you know what I mean? And she's weak because, well, why aren't you speaking up for yourself? Oh no, trust me. When something hits her soul, and she feels like she needs to say something, she's not only going to say something, she's going to tell you in your language, and then she's going to say it again in her language. You're going to hear it twice.
Trey, I agree with you. The problem is that a lot of the mainstream passport bros aren't putting it like that. And a lot of, we have to be at least honest that a lot of this idea that the passport bros go to these non-Western countries because these women are just going to lay down, do whatever the hell they say. Unfortunately, that comes from a lot of these mainstream passport bros giving false information, right? They're not saying it like you, Trey, because guess what? Like, even though technically I'm not a passport bros, people can make the argument because my wife is German. But here's the thing, like, and Trey will know this too, like some of them Southeast Asian countries, if they not feel you, they will go the hell back home. They will straight up bounce and go back home. And like Germany, infrastructure wise, is an upgrade from America. So if me and my wife don't work out, she could be like, I'll just go back to Germany. Then what? And I'm like, man, that's not even.
Tarus, there's a lot of people who think that you don't get turned down over there. You get turned. I was in Rio. I got turned down by women in Rio. Yep. And the difference is that because they have a different culture. So their culture isn't about being rude. They're not rude about everything, right? Yeah. So even when she turns you down, like for instance, I try to go talk to this one woman, right? boy, I was enamored with her. I was, man, she is beautiful. She never said one word to me. She never just spoke. And I was like, she is not interested. Because
But
over there, that's
but
the way
Trey,
that they turn
they
you
not
down. She's
giving
not
that
gonna
information.
be mean to you and disrespect you and call you names and all that. She's just like, I'm not interested. And a lot of them will say, I'm not interested, and they'll walk off on you. And I think that a lot of people think, well, she's soft because that to me, that's how a woman would normally respond. Okay, I'm not interested in you. I'm either going to ignore you, you catch the hint, or I'm going to tell you to your face, I'm not really interested, but thank you.
And see, Trey, that's what bothers me with the mainstream guys, because I tell people I try to tell some of the guys that go get a passport, bro, Trey, bro, at least go to a country that you're actually interested in. Like, for example, if I go to Germany, yes, I love my wife, but damn, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go to Nuremberg and hit the Nuremberg because I'm a car guy. Right, I'm gonna go to Berlin and check out all the tours because I like I like Neuschwanstein Castle. That's the fairy tale castle that Disney modeled. It's in Neuschwanstein, Germany. Like I like I like the culture, right? So if it just doesn't happen to work out with my wife, I'm not gonna be like, oh, F Germany. You get what I mean? But there's so many guys who are not getting the correct information, and unfortunately, a lot of this ends up being trade. Like they go to Colombia, don't even want to learn a lick of Spanish. They go to Dominican Republic, don't want to learn a lick of Spanish. They think they could just flash their American passport and some dollars and think they good.
Well, we have to remember. There is an American way, and that American way has a tendency to be arrogant, right? But Lit hit it on the head, and he's absolutely right. It's the same thing with the guys that come in the gym that are overweight and they still overweight 5 months later. Same guys that go to church and don't get anything. If you are going to these countries and you're not getting anything out of it, then that's your fault. The women are always going to be there, never going to go anywhere. I'm not going to Argentina in April because of the women, but don't get me wrong, I'm going to enjoy that there are beautiful women there. But I've heard that Argentina has the best steak in the world. I'm going. That's my reasoning for going. I'm hearing that Argentina has the best steak in the world. They prepare steak the best. I'm going to go find out for real. Right? When I was in Rio, I didn't go to Brazil because it was Rio. Of course, there's beautiful women in Brazil. Right? You can make an argument. The most beautiful women. But I was there for Christ the Redeemer. That was a part of my. I want to go see all of the wonders of the world. Well, one of the wonders of the world is Christ the Redeemer, and it's in Brazil. I agree with you, Teresa. A lot of guys, but we also have to make the delineation too. There are sex tourists and there are passport bros. A lot of these guys are sex tourists, and they won't admit it. They won't say, I'm just going because it's the tricking is easier and it's cheaper, and the women are more attractive. I have no problem. If that's what you want to do, I'm not a depolicing kind of guy. It's your penis, your wallet, do what you want, right? But I hate that you keep trying to make it seem like that we're in the same boat. We're not in the same boat. Yeah. I'm not traveling for women. I'm traveling for exterior reason. Women are just a byproduct of the traveling. They just happen to be there. No different if I went to Vegas to go gamble. If I went to go Vegas to go gamble, there's gonna be women in the casino too, right? It just is what it is. But we have to make the delineation. There are a lot of guys who are literally just sex tourists, and they need to start saying that.
Agreed.
My whole thing is if you're gonna go, you know what I mean, make sure you go for you and not for, other stuff. If you just happen to find somebody there, that's fine. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to tell somebody what they can do and what they can't do. But my thing is, what are you going to do at the end of the day? You know what I'm saying? If you find a wife, you can find one here, you can find one there, anywhere. But my thing is make sure you get yourself straightened out first. You know what I mean? Because you can, I put it to you like this, you can still have the same outcome here than you have over there. But at the same time, the culture itself dictates exactly how those people are going to treat you. You know what I mean? And I saw somebody in the chat, I think Mitchell says it comes down to respect, reciprocation, cooperation are the key. You know what I mean? If you can't give the same amount of cooperation, then that's it. But at the end of the day, it really does come back to culture. And that's the reason why I stressed out women. The reason why they put the passport bros down is because they want them to accept them the way that they are instead of actually being better women. You see what I'm saying? If you don't know how to be a better woman, then I think you should probably ask somebody. And it's the same way with men. If you don't know how to be a better man, then you should probably ask somebody.
That scares me, Lost.
Why is that?
That scares me because a lot of these passport bros, and again, I know like we should hold everyone accountable. Lost, I think I told you before, I'm a guy, so I'm gonna focus on my guys. Lost, a lot of these guys, even with on the religious perspective, they're not considering that even in a different country, that interpretation of Christianity is not the same. So that expectation of what they view a man should do is not the same as what a Christian American man should do. And a lot of these guys are not, prepared, and they end up like shooting themselves in the foot, not being prepared for situations like that. That's what scares me, Lost.
I agree. But like I said earlier, you got to make sure you get yourself straightened out first. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
because
but
other people ain't going to let you just run off with their daughter. You're going to mistreat them any old kind of way.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, go ahead. No, go ahead, Arpane.
No, they got daddy. They got daddies over there.
What is there really to be scared of in terms of when a man makes a decision, right or wrong, he wants to go overseas and he makes a mistake and he doesn't get into the culture, he doesn't enamor himself to the people. That's an individual making a mistake. Right now, some people have done that and some people learn from those mistakes and some people don't. But that's the individual man thing. I don't believe in a blanket, this whole passport bros movement, but if it's really a movement. I think there's a misnomer about it because men have been traveling overseas for decades, years, 100 years, So one guy became the face of the passport movement, but that he doesn't speak for like a guy, what's the guy, lost Zoom to Thailand, or some of these other guys.
Richie Mack.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys who may not have been as popular, but they inculcate themselves into the culture, and that's how they act. Like he had Richie Mack had a woman from America in his house, speaking just like she was still in America. I mean, dominating the whole conversation. I don't know if everybody saw that, but
I saw that, man.
It was amazing.
She was acting like it was her house. You know what I'm saying? No
Yeah,
manners, no
women
nothing.
from the place sitting there, like they were complete. The body language told you everything you needed to know about this woman.
Well, one of them was her husband. Her husband.
Even her husband. He was like.
But the thing about it is he couldn't tell her nothing. He just sat there.
I say, poor dude, bastard. I felt bad for him.
You know what's interesting about that video? You know what's interesting about that video, Arpane?
Yeah,
go back and go watch it again. I bet you didn't pick up on this because I kind of noticed stuff, right? Go back and go watch it again. When Richie Mack starts that video off, he's in the club, he's in the little dining thing, and they're doing the Thanksgiving dinner, right? And he's walking around, he's speaking to people. If you notice, one of the guys he speaks to is her husband. I want you to take a look at that big old smile that was on his face. He had a big smile on his face when he was talking to Richie Mack.
Okay.
And then fast forward to the conversation on the couch. Completely different man. Not one smile on his face.
Arms folded.
Yeah, arms folded. He looked embarrassed, honestly. He really did. He looked embarrassed. But I want to point that out because you can see that this man was happy. He was happy to be in Thailand, to be amongst these guys, right? That's one of the things I'm actually looking forward to is to link up with Richie Mack because he plays golf. And so he has a little thing where you can go play golf with him. So I'm probably going to do that, right? But I'm looking forward to be around men who are like-minded because they look happy.
Yeah,
right now it could be for the cameras. I don't know. That's why I want to go judge for myself. But there's a certain level of I see a lot of teeth in these videos. I see a lot of smiling going on in these videos, and I think
a lot of black boy joy flowing through these screens. You know what I'm saying?
Lost, and I think to some degree that irritates the spirit of some women back here in America. I think it bothers them a little bit that hey, these men are traveling and they are women around, yes, but women are always gonna be around. I can go out with my boys tonight, there's gonna be women around, right? But women around, yes. But they are genuinely having fun. I'm seeing them on ATVs. I'm seeing them zip lining through the jungles. I'm seeing them feed monkeys. I'm seeing them do all kinds of stuff. So it's not just about the women. I think that there's a certain group of people that want to say, "Oh yeah, I just want to go travel for the women." Yeah, to some degree, you may be right. Yes, we do know there are beautiful women in these other countries, but there's so much culture. Somebody asked, "What's the motive?" The motive is culture, experience, enhancement. Right? Enlightenment. There's a lot of things going on here. When I went to Israel, I was there. I went to Jerusalem. I went to Bethlehem. I went to the Western Wall. I went to the Sea of Galilee. I went to the River Jordan. There are beautiful Israeli women walking around, but I went and did a lot of other things while I was there. I went to the Dead Sea while I was there. Got a really cool picture there too. You know what I mean? Floating, my feet are up in my body. It's a really cool picture. But anyway, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things to do, but I think that people have tried to sabotage this because to a degree, we aren't supposed to be happy. We aren't supposed to be going over and smiling. We're supposed to be happy here, but a lot of us in America, we're not happy here. We're not smiling here.
Yeah, we're
We're
miserable.
stressed. We're stressed here. We're working. You know what I mean? We're trying to provide, and you know, there's this going on, there's that going on. And America's very fast. You go to other countries, America in comparison is very fast to like the Philippines. Philippines is kind of slow by comparison. America's
But
very
Trey,
speedy.
wouldn't you agree that the passport bros is definitely a niche thing? Because what you and I like doing, we like traveling. Like, for example, we're not trying to be drunk because we actually want to walk around the city we're at during the daytime and go see some stuff, right?
Right.
We don't want to just be passed out drunk until 2:00 in the afternoon. Just
Right.
say we did that in a different country. That's not the point. We actually want to experience history and things like that.
Right. Well, some
Trey,
of these
when I
places,
first heard the
some of
term
these places
passport
have.
bros, I thought that was me.
I thought it
Unfortunately,
was me
Trey,
too.
but Trey, the people who actually use that term and identify as it and market themselves, the first thing out their mouth is the women. It's not anything that we mentioned. So the passport bros is like definitely a niche thing because I don't want to identify as a passport bros because they sound like a bunch of sex tours.
You know, I want to address this comment because there's an issue with women in America that there's this loyalty thing that men are supposed to have. Well, you could just do that right here. I don't want to, and I don't have to. There's nothing restricting me. I am a free man. Like I said the other day, my wrists are not bound. I have a passport. I can go wherever I want. There's nothing stopping me. Guess what? The Bible is transportable. I can take it with me. You do know that, right? Like it's not stuck just here in America. They have Bibles in other countries as well. The Bible is the most sold book in the world. It's everywhere. But this idea that I'm supposed to have some sort of loyalty to this country and date the women in your country and date the women in your race. Why?
Trey, let me tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. It's basically sour grapes. It's an indictment on who they are. And if enough men catch on, they're gonna say, hey, you know, it's a threat. You're taking away resources, you know, that type of thing. You're taking away the best that there is eventually. You see what I'm saying? So what they do is they try to cut it off at the pass and make it seem like it's a bad thing. But my thing is this, man. If you really want somebody to brag about you as a woman, just be a better woman. Just have something nice to say. Don't be contentious. Ain't that right, Miss Jen? It says the Bible says that it's better for a man to live in a corner of a shack than to live with a quarrelsome woman. That's in there like 3-4 times. You see what I'm saying? And I don't think enough women who go to church realize that that's in there several times. So that leads me to believe that God wants the best for men because he knows when you're at your best, your community is at your best. You see what I'm saying? And your life is at your best. And you can give God the glory when you have a calm heart and a joyful heart. You see what I'm saying? But you can't have joy in your heart if you have a contentious person because it takes away from God. And God is a jealous God. You know what I'm saying? That's the first commandment he gave. Thou shalt not have no other God before me. That comes down to your woman too. You see what I'm saying? Your woman should not rule over you. You see what I'm saying? And my thing is this: if women really want men to brag about them, they should just be better women. And then guys wouldn't have to worry about getting on a plane or having an indictment of who they are. They're taking it personal when it really shouldn't be personal. If guys are going overseas just to enlighten themselves or better themselves, I don't have a problem with that. I really don't.
Respectfully lost. I have to push back. In general, I used to agree, but so one reason I can't be a passport bro is because I was stationed in Germany, right? It's orders. I didn't choose to.
Let me ask you a question before you get started, Teresa. What's your definition of a passport bro? Because I want to make sure that we're clear.
Those who go, I think for me, my definition is guys who seek non-Western women in non-Western countries in order to have a more traditional idea of a relationship marriage.
Let me ask you a
Big old-
question. Let me
yeah.
ask you a question. What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Where's the pushback? I'm gonna make sure we
The
on the same
pushback
page.
is that as somebody who talks to everyone, what I noticed, especially like the women I served with that was also stationed in Germany, and unfortunately this happens with Black women the most. My fellow Black men, if you want to date outside the race, go ahead, but you do not have to demean, degrade, insult Black women on the way out. Lost, unfortunately, there's too many guys, and this is what women are typically pushing back on. It's the guys going, see, you acting like this, you loud, you can't be reasoned with. All these stereotypes as a Black women as a justification for why they date outside the race. You see, I don't like, my wife just happened to be German. I didn't go out of my way going, yo, I'm gonna go marry me a German chick. You get what I mean?
Right.
Or a white chick.
Right.
So I typically get along with Black women. Here's where Black women would absolutely eat me up. If I went to Germany, Lost, and on my way to Germany going, see, I'm going to Germany because these Black women ain't shit. These Black women, they trash. You see what I mean? Like, hold up.
I see what you're saying.
I see what you're
saying. I see what you're saying. Terus, here's the thing. I don't think that's what really happened. What happened was guys were talking amongst themselves and said, hey, look, if you really want to build a family, think outside the box. What happened was women stuck their nose in a place that they weren't invited into a conversation, and they start injecting that narrative as if men are bashing women on the way out when that was never the case. You see what I'm saying? So I think what happens is when we have these conversations, we have to make sure that we understand exactly where this stuff comes from. And a lot of times there's a lot of information that's injected into the conversation that never got started there. And if you ask any passport bro, they will tell you that's exactly what happened. Women got nosy because guys weren't sniffing up behind them anymore. They were just simply going. And they were having a conversation like, I'm having a good time over here. You know what I'm saying? And they don't have to put up with the other stuff. I think that was a genuine conversation. Information man, thank you for coming to the show, sir. I want to make sure we recognize you. Terus, did that answer your question about what happened? Because sometimes I think we get lost in translation when we have
definitely answered
situations like that.
A nice part of it, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I want to make sure we're on the same page.
Before you go on, is Jenny just still having problems getting back on?
She is. She's still getting in. I'm just trying to fill in until her computer picks up.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, I mean, I see her coming in and out. All right, my mic is muted.
Yeah. Information man, welcome to the show, sir.
Come on, BM.
Thank you very much, brother. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine. Information man, I know you've been watching, man. What's your take on the situation?
I mean, I understand why brothers are going across seas. If there's if you're having some issues with a pool of women in your area where you're from in this country, you want to go to try your luck elsewhere. I know a lot of guys say that when they go across seas, they feel like women are more traditional, feminine, and they feel like they get treated better. I believe that you can still find women in America who have.
Everybody's struggling tonight.
Man, the Lord got something to say about it.
Man, yo, it's probably that big ass storm rolling through.
You want to know why?
Yeah.
Because God has children in other countries too. Not just in America.
Right.
Situation. Can you hear me still? Because I'm cutting.
Yeah, you were just lagging a little bit. We're waiting for you to get back in. Go ahead, information.
Let me
man.
make my last point here. I brought this up some years ago when I used to be a part of the Sunday Rumble over in O'Shea's neck of the wood. And keep this in mind, gentlemen. When you go to other countries and encounter other women, you have to understand that in some of these countries, they believe in getting married early. it's dictated by the religion. It's dictated by their culture. And particularly in Brazil, I'm going to touch on Brazil. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear
Yeah,
you
you're
loud
good
and clear.
information. You
Info.
clear now.
In Brazil, because I have family over there, what tends to happen is that a lot of brothers will go to these countries where they're treated very well by some of these women. You have to ask yourself, the women that you are enthralled with over there, if they were the best quality of women that those countries have to offer, why haven't they not been married up by the men who best know them better than you do and understand the culture better than you do? Because, like I said before, in some of these cultures, like over here in America, we know what our thought culture is. We know the women that we stay away from. In those cultures, those men over there know what women are for the streets. So a lot of times when we go over to other countries, some women, not all, may see you as a big giant passport. They're going to go out of their way to treat you a certain way because there's an incentive that they may see in you. Some women. But that's the $1 million question. Why haven't those women been married up in a culture that dictates marriage, family, relationships? And oftentimes you have to ask yourself, if you talk to the men that live there, are they for the streets? And if you don't know the language, I think Tarus had made a good point. If you don't know the language and the culture, you may think that you got a real woman that's better than what you got in America because she's sort of catering to you. But do you know what she really is all about? You know, some of these women, I know someone personally got married. Woman took him for everything when he brought her back to America. This is just an isolated situation. And then after she got a divorce, she sent for her real boyfriend. So I think we have to show, as men, when we travel, we have to be cautious, use intelligence, assess the women that you're dealing with, just like you would assess women here in America. But that's the question, gentlemen. If these women are better, why are they not married up by the men that speak their language and know them better than you do?
You know what? That's a fantastic question, and I'm glad you asked it because I got the answer.
Yes, sir.
Listen, I was watching a video last week when I was on a hiatus from the internet, and I want to make sure that I cleanse my palate from time to time because I don't want to make sure that I get the stain of the algorithm on me. I want to give something.
Let me just say, I just want to say this to Trey. Whether you think it's a Dr. Umar Johnson talking point or not, it doesn't really matter. It's a very legitimate question to ask.
No, it's not. It's a trash question.
And the reason why it's a legitimate question, as I said before,
it's not a legitimate question. It's a trash question.
It's a legitimate question. Well, if I can finish what I'm going to say, so I'm not going to argue back and forth with you.
You're addressing me, so I'm going to address you.
Well, because you left a message in there, and I'm telling you why. I'm going to tell you why. I'm sure you've trapped. See,
it's a trash question.
Trey, I'm not trying to get in a back and forth arguing with you. Can I finish my point? Can I finish my point? When you
interrupted him to address me. You
to people in these cultures, as I have.
It's a trash question.
Well, I'm trying to finish my point.
It's a trash question and a trash talking point from a trash
because you said it's an Umar Johnson talking point.
Make sure we give an opportunity.
Can I finish my point? Because I'm about to get off anyway. Because I don't have time
hurry up and get off.
Nonsense.
It's a trash question.
I don't have nonsense. Trey, I don't care what you say, man. To be quite honest.
Well, then don't address it. Then let's move on.
This is my. Let's
just move on. If you don't give a shit what I have to say, let's just move on. Why address it if you don't care?
Information man, you're frozen, sir. Well, we're
waiting
on him to come
what
back.
I have to say, but you got to address it. That doesn't make any sense.
This is my business. I've talked to.
Are you back, information man? Because like the screen's frozen.
There in any culture, we have women in this culture, and you have women in other cultures that are for the streets. All I simply said is men in those cultures know who those women are.
Yeah, but we gotta let people.
I'm gonna go ahead and answer the question. Yeah. Here's the thing. The reason why is because
when you
of sheer
who are for the streets, find their way connecting with men from.
I think his connection got lost. Well, I hope he's listening.
Lost.
Yeah, I hope he's listening, man, because I want to answer the question. Last week I was watching a video, and they were talking about, you know, women getting married at an earlier age. It was this one particular village. I don't know if it applies to different cultures or whatever, but in this particular village, there are actually more women than there are men. It has nothing to do with whether these women are for the streets or anything like that. It's the fact that they just so happen to have more women than men. And they had like a whole market where women come to say, hey, look, I'm a good wife, I'm a good bride. Or where families came out there, they all dressed up, real nice, you know what I'm saying? And these are local guys coming to get wives. It wasn't like, you know, foreign guys coming to pick up wives. Jenny, you're clear, you're back.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I was saying earlier, we're waiting on you to get back so you can grab hold of your
Good
screen.
show.
Yeah. But like I was saying earlier, it has actually nothing to do with tourism or anything like that. I think that's a negative aspect or a comment that people injected into the situation when it's not, because it's nefarious at best. When you take something that is wholesome, where a guy wants to have a family, and then you inject, you know, something nefarious in it, saying, well, it's trafficking or it's tourism, you know, that type of thing. It's a very dishonest conversation without having all the information. You see what I'm saying? So I wanted to make sure that people give the topic its fair due, instead of inserting their own agenda into it. You know what I'm saying? That there are guys who want to say, yes, there are good women here, which they are. We agree. There are also a lot of women whose culture doesn't jive with what guys have been going through. Men pretty much haven't really changed. It's the women have slowly changed over time, and it's not really jiving with what guys really want. So you'll have a narrative where a very small percentage of men says, hey, look, I'm just gonna just go overseas, I'm gone. You know what I mean? Very small percentage. But what happens is people like to blow it up just in case some other guys don't get any ideas. You see what I'm saying? Because when you take away somebody's livelihood or future incentive, you know what I mean, then you want to make sure nobody else gets any ideas. It's pretty much like when you got guys like Kennedy and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, those guys stand up for something, all of a sudden they ain't here no more. It's just in case you guys don't get any more ideas, in case you want to rise up and the next Black Messiah shows up, we're going to have something ready for him too. So basically it's attend to that type of tactic that we have to be aware of, to make sure that we don't dilute the real conversation. And I always say this, I put it to like this: I've actually seen us at our best. So I know we still have it in us. It's just up to us to make sure that we work towards that. You know what I mean? There was a time in my lifetime where I've seen Black men and Black women love each other like nobody else's business. You know, dancing, having a good time, having families, growing families or whatever. But for some reason over time, the dialogue got off track. And I think we need to get back to being the best versions of ourselves. Now we have to make sure that we're willing to do that. You see what I'm saying? Or else people are going to find other ways to circumvent, you know, the barriers that are put in place to keep them from getting and having the families that they want. You see what I'm saying? So we want to make sure we keep the conversation honest.
Can I just jump in real quick, Lit?
Sure.
Because I agree with everything you just said. And everything's on a spectrum, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the same thing go with the Passport Bros. You're going to have a little bit of everything, and you can't just use one piece of it and make it a motivation for them all. But this last thing you said about the way Black people used to love each other, I was going to talk about that tomorrow. On Monday. Back in my old days when the dinosaurs used to roam the earth, Black men and Black women, we loved each other, man. I swear to God. This thing is making me nostalgic when I come up on these panels. We used to have so much fun as Black men and Black women. It was incredible. This transformation to where we are now is completely commercialization and programming. And we fall prey to it. I'm not going to blame it on men or women. We just have. I mean, I can just go back to all the nostalgia about being on the block with the sisters, the brothers, and everybody, how we used to protect and love and have fun with each other, men and women, boys and girls. It's amazing. But anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, information man. I
Ross,
see you back.
Ross, I agree
This
with you,
this
man. It
this
just
idea that
that's
the
why I'm up
women
here, bro.
Also,
that the
Because
women
there's too
overseas
many
are
guys, Trey. There's too many dudes getting played. My thing is, I just want to give guys better information. Like, if you're gonna do
this
this,
dude's
please
getting
do it
played here in
correctly.
America.
But Trey, what I'm saying is, like, they're listening to these mainstream passport bros. They're doing it the wrong way, and then there's too many of our guys getting just
And
played.
there's guys listening to these crap dating coaches in America and getting
We can
finessed like a
still,
mug. Come on, bro. Like, you
but
gotta
I'm saying we
stop
can
this.
still put out
Y'all
better
gotta stop
information,
this
right?
idea. The fact of the matter is that if you think that these guys are getting the bottom of the barrel women in America, well, let me tell you who's the bottom. I mean, but they're getting bottom of the barrel
Oh, we
women
all having another.
overseas. Let me tell you who the bottom of the barrel women are in America. The very women y'all want us to be with. They're the worst group of women. So why am I being questioned about going overseas to get the bottom of the barrel and the women that the guys over there don't want, but you want me to stay here and fight for the women that the absolute worst? That doesn't make any sense. And I try not to do this. I try not to say, listen, I'm traveling because of the women. No, I travel because I've always enjoyed traveling. It's something that the Air Force taught me, and I fell in love with it. You guys, Tarus, did you guys have hops? Did you guys have hops? You know what I'm talking about, a hop?
Yeah.
Bro, I used to get on the hops. I would work 12 hours and get right on a hop for $15 and go to Germany, go wherever it was
Yeah,
going.
we call them Mac flights. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love to travel. But this idea that I'm going to another country because I'm going to get the worst group of women when the worst group of women is right here in America. But I should settle for that as a man. I should be okay with that. I'll try not to make this about women, but we continuously keep wanting to bring it back about the women. It's not about the women. I could talk about the cost of living in the Philippines and Thailand. I could talk about the culture. There's actual fathers over there. You don't meet a woman and you go meet her family. You're going to sit down with her daddy and her two brothers as well. I could talk about that. Ask me how many fathers I've sat down with here in America. And they had dads.
Right.
Trey, I agree with you, but I'm going to repeat it again, Trey. I wish it was guys like you're saying that, because the mainstream passport bro community is not saying that. That's the reality.
Well, here's the thing: we can't control what other people say. We can't control what other people say.
But lost, unfortunately, our vulnerable guys are guys that are, maybe didn't have a father growing up, and so they're looking for this information. Unfortunately, they're going to be naturally attracted to the guys with the biggest platform, and a lot of these guys with the biggest platform, they putting out information sometimes that's setting our dudes up for failure.
I agree too.
Hold on a second, y'all. I want to get information man in here. Tarus, I'm going to address that first, and I'm going to get information in. Tarus, here's the thing. That's a part of life. You're going to take your lumps listening to the wrong people. That's just how it is, man. You have to be able to think. Listen, wait a minute, wait. You have to be able to think for yourself. We can't force people to change. I tell people this all the time. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. There will be people who do not get it, and that's okay. Everybody don't get it at the same time, and that's okay. Information man, I'm glad you're back, man, because I hope I answered your question.
No, I just, I want to make something clear.
Information man, you're on mute.
Yeah, your mic info.
Boy, we just having
problems tonight. I'm having all kind of technical problems tonight. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Come on.
Now, all I was going to say is I don't have a problem with brothers traveling, whether it be for love, relationships, or personal cultural exchange. I'm not even arguing that. Just like Trey said here, there are women here who have issues, but then there's women across seas, depending on who you meet. I know that there are more culture that's more intact in other countries where women come from traditions in which they treat men a certain way. Totally understand that. All I'm simply saying, and I'm going based on family members that I've talked to, that within traveling, when you're looking for women, you do have to think about, to a certain degree, when you don't know the culture, you should talk to the men in that culture, in my opinion, who can kind of tell you the right places to go to meet the type of women that you want, because those men in those cultures kind of know who the ladies of the streets are. That's all I was really trying to say. And you can get caught up here. You can get caught up in other countries. Women will use you in other countries. Women will use you here. Hopefully, men will find the right woman and they're happy. But female nature in general doesn't change. Just culture changes, right? Because even if you take in a woman from another culture, there's certain things that are expected of you as a man that you may not be expective of in America, the way shit is going over here. So that's all I'm saying. I've got no problem. I don't think personally, even though Trey sees it different, I don't think it's a trash thought or a trash question to at least ask that question. It doesn't mean that every man is going to meet those type of women, but I think men should be viewed with as much information when you travel and encounter women in different parts of the world, and really talk to the men that live there. You know, a lot of guys don't talk about that. They don't talk about that. And Tarus, you made a good point. A lot of guys go to these places and sometimes they don't know the language. And that can certainly create a barrier for you in certain aspects, because it can limit you when you can't communicate with all the different women to get a better perspective. That's all I'm saying.
You know what? Information, man. I'm glad you said that.
Lick, didn't you start this off when you said there's guys who go to the gym and they're not doing nothing with it? There's guys who go to church and they're not receiving the word.
Right.
There's a breadth of knowledge today about traveling. Breadth. Right. I mean, it's overwhelming how much knowledge is out there. The fact of the matter is that there's just a lot of guys who don't want it. They are sex tourists. We have to understand it. There are guys who are traveling because they're not getting no box in America and they want to go get it somewhere else. It is what it is.
But let me ask you this.
This idea that there isn't any information, or these guys, there's plenty of it. There's just guys that just don't want to read. They don't want to do the work. And there's nothing we can do about that.
Here's the caveat. They have been doing this well before it became mainstream. My question is, why is it a problem now? And I'll tell you why. Earlier today, I was watching RBN stream. Okay. And the main premise of his stream was he had a video of Anton, and people were asking him how he was doing. And nobody really ever asked men how they're doing until they actually provide something for them. Ain't that what Chris Rock said? Only dogs, women, and kids, you know what I mean, get love unconditionally. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to care about men until they actually start moving in their own best interests. So we have to make sure that we stay aware of these conversations when people try to inject their reality into your reality. And they want to say, well, it's trafficking, it's this and it's that. No, you're just trying to benefit from something somebody else has, and you're trying to paint it in such a way to make sure that these guys don't get what they want to get. You see what I'm saying? So I just want to make sure everybody's aware, you know, that type of thing. Because each one of you, think to yourself, when was the last time somebody asked you as a man, are you okay?
I saw that stream live, and Antoine got thrown for a loop on that one.
Right. That man almost broke down.
My
you know
birthday,
what I'm saying?
My birthday was December 29th, and I had someone ask me, my homeboy asked me, I'm just checking on you. I just want to see how you're doing. How are you? Prior to that, I can't tell you the last time.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
it's very rare for a man to have that. I have a frat brother who calls me. He's younger. He always calls me up. He said, "Hey, Brother Payne, man, how you doing, man? How's things going?" I got a few brothers like that. But getting that from a woman on a general basis is very, very rare. I mean, my wife says we're together, so we ask each other that from time to time. But there's a lot of men go years without anybody asking them how they are. Years.
So that leads me to my question. So how come nobody asking these guys how are them before they decide to leave? It's only when they have something to lose when they want to know how you're doing. You see what I'm saying? I want to make sure that we keep that in the forefront of making sure that when we have these conversations that we are aware that people have an agenda, and to be aware of the agenda, even though it's hiding in plain sight. Go ahead.
Lost in translation. Could I say this? Sure. I like what you were saying, brother. I've heard brothers say this on various podcasts on YouTube. Could it be that the reason why people have an issue with it, this is not going to be popular, I think it's mainly because black women don't like the fact, obviously, that black men are showing that they have choices, they have options, and they're exercising the options. And in some psychological or weird way, even if a black woman doesn't want you, they still don't want you leaving them because maybe they see you as a possession that they should be able to control and dictate what you do and not do. And it's funny because you got some of these black women who don't even will say that they don't want these men who are actually, quote unquote, going to other countries, right? You don't want them, but then you got a problem when they decide to go and leave. I find that fascinating because once again, as Brother Payne said, there was a time when black people had this love for each other, right? And maybe deep down inside, black women, even if they don't really want you personally, they still don't want you to leave because they still want to have some sort of control over you, which is why you see some sisters always talking about wanting protection and what have you, right? They don't want us just
Information, man, you breaking up, sir.
Yeah, this is the options. This is the options topic. And Information Man is right about this. So a lot of the passport bros were option C and D to a lot of women. And the option A and option B was the rich guy or the guy with the clout. And then when they realized that option A and B were no longer available, they were always going to revert back to option C and D. Well, the problem is option C and D has decided to go elsewhere. So now there's no option C or D, and there's no option A or B. So now you're out of all your options. So now the idea is we're going to shame option C and D now because I can't lose you. So Information Man is right about this. This is the options topic that has come up. He's absolutely right about this. For a lot of passport guys, they were on the back burner, and they took themselves off the back burner, or they were in the friend zone, and they took themselves out of the friend zone now, and that caused a lot of problems for women. I actually think it's a little bit deeper than that. I think it's a color issue. I think that it's closer to slavery than we really want to admit. That black women want to keep us under their thumb, and we're not supposed to go out. Because if you look at some of these women that these guys, I'm talking about the ones that are getting married. The women that they're getting married to, these are not unattractive women they're getting married to. And these are women who are cooking dinner, you know what I mean? Who are doing a whole bunch of stuff. And I think a lot of black women, they have an issue with that because you're supposed to be under I'm supposed to be under I'm supposed to be able to pick and choose you when I want you. And if I don't want you, then you're supposed to just be on standby until I figure it out. Information Man is absolutely correct on that.
Yeah, I think women do a disservice when they forget that us guys are going to go hunt where the food is plentiful. That's just straight up.
I want to say this real quick if I can.
Come on, Black man.
When we talk about the the men not being asked how they were doing or how they're doing, we have to look at what's going on in the country when it comes to men. When men are going through a lot of things, they never get asked how they're doing. Last year, 500,000 men at the National Blood Bank did blood tests, and out of those men, 30,000 of those men were in relationships, serious relationships, and or married, and they had children averaging between the ages of 8 and 13. That they found out after 8 and 13 years that those kids are not theirs. What kind of mental state does that do to what kind of mental state does that put to a man who has dedicated his life to a woman for 15 years, and right when he needs to give his son a blood transfusion at the hospital from a car accident to save his son's life, he finds out at that moment that the child is not his, and he cannot even help a child he's bonded with that is not his. How is he doing?
BM, that sucks, but he could go to another country, find a woman that ends up doing the same thing to him.
But no, what I'm talking about, strictly talking about how men are doing, what men are experiencing. A man can go to work all day, have a supervisor or someone on his ass who's fighting against him every day to make sure he doesn't get his bonuses, make sure that they're setting him up for failure. Then he comes home and he walks right past the woman that's committed her life to him, and she just simply won't ask, "Baby, how are you?"
You know what, Black Man, that takes me to a point that Anton Daniels was making earlier about the sort of solidarity that women have versus what we have as men. We don't do enough of checking up on each other and looking out for each other. You will see two women who don't know each other, never met each other, and they will have each other's back in a drop of a dime. They don't know nothing about each other. They don't even know each other's name. But the sisterhood is so strong with them. They know I'm just supposed to be on her side. Whereas men, we don't really act like that. If Terus is wrong, Terus is wrong. And that's how we act as men. And there's no, I'm just gonna be on your side to be on your side. Like that, it just doesn't work that way. I think a lot of the issue here is we don't check with each other because we've somehow, I would imagine, Arpan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because you would know more about this than I would. It's not an old joke, it's just being honest. I would imagine that you guys had more solidarity back during, that time, 60s, 70s, 80s. You were fighting for bigger causes, social injustices. So you guys had to maybe rely on each other a little bit more. I think that we in this day and age are a lot more independent than you guys maybe were. I don't necessarily need you. If I want to speak on a social cause, I can grab my phone and just start talking about the social cause. Whereas maybe you guys work as a group to speak out. Am I off on that? Or
no, it's true. We actually had a boys club that was for boys.
Right.
The women were. There's nothing that they weren't allowed. It was just for boys. Kip Spade's Boys Club. And then when they changed it to boys and girls after 10 years, but the fellas used to get down there, used to play ball, football, baseball, softball. We used to have all kinds of tournaments. So the guys were really bonded, man. So a lot of that's going too, So
Arpan, you're talking about stuff, brother, that I grew up through that era of the boys club before it was girls club. Totally get everything that you're saying. You are 100% on point. But would you say that a lot of that was possible because Black people lived in close niche communities with each other, whereas today we're spread out all over the damn place and we're all trying to immigrate all over the damn place?
That helped. That certainly helped. Yeah, I agree. I was in the Soundview area of the Bronx. It was mostly Black folks around there.
Mm-hmm.
Castle Hill, Southview, Monroe. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Let me ask y'all this.
Hold on, Trey, I'm going to go ahead and add something before you. I'm going to add something that you said earlier. You said that women have a solidarity that men seem to don't have. I'm going to tell you why that is. Because women share a lot of things in common. Most of the time they share bonds of trauma with each other because they can relate to each other. Most men hide their trauma because it's not masculine to talk about your feelings, and it's not masculine to share with other men your downfallings.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Drinking, you start drinking,
drugs, whatever. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about that though. Most men suffer in silence because most men think that you're supposed to have it all together. And that's the reason why men don't share. On somebody's post, I think it was Take Heed's post. I said women seem to think that they cornered the market on trauma, and we have to stop that. Men have trauma too. You see what I'm saying? But we just don't talk about it. We don't share that. But that's the reason why it's even more important for us to pull each other one to the side, like Arpan said, and ask them, hey, how you doing, brother? Because that may be the only time that somebody asks that man, hey, are you okay? You see what I'm saying? And that's the reason why women bond, because they share things like childbirth. They share things like going through their monthly cycle. They share things like doing more housework or different type of jobs or dealing with the same thing they have to deal with their mother-in-laws. You know what I'm saying? All of that stuff they bond with because they experience the exact same thing. Men normally don't do that. Yes, we have hard jobs, but they're not always the same. Our experiences are vastly different as men because we're required to do vastly different things to make the world go around.
Now,
you see what I'm saying?
I want to say something real quick, then Trey, you can hop in there.
Go ahead.
I saw something the other day that was so amazing. Ms. Jenny, I think that you're in this boat. I think that Take Heed is in this boat. I think that a lot of women are. I saw a group of women not sitting around talking bad about their husbands or talking bad about men or not asking men how they were doing, but they were having a conversation on how to be better wives to their men. And I want to share this with you guys. Here it is.
My husband was coming home for dinner. Dinner time is very important to us. One particular day, my husband was late, and I could feel myself getting a little bit like, you're late. And Holy Spirit said,
he must have got cut off too.
You make a choice of how you're going to greet this man. Holy Spirit says, because you have no idea the things he's had to fight today. So even though you don't know why he's late, when he walks in this house, you greet him like the king he is. Then I hear the door turn, the key coming, and Holy Spirit said, it's almost time. When he comes in this house, you decide if you are going to be the type of woman who brings life or you bring a knife. So he walked in and I greeted him. I hugged him. I let him know I was so happy to see him. And he just melted in my arms. He said, let me tell you what happened today, what I've had to deal with. And it broke me down because there's a scripture, Proverbs 31:11. It says, the heart of her husband safely trusts her. When you endeavor to be a woman who follows the Holy Spirit will teach you how to love, how to be safe, how to be nurturing, and how to be the type of woman where a man comes home and he knows I fought out there, but I never have to fight in here. I'm home.
God, boy, I don't even want to talk after that. Man,
Hey, Black
ain't
man,
that what we
I
said
saw
earlier?
that and I posted it on my Instagram when I saw it. I was like, I posted life or knife is what I wrote. Life or
man,
knife? Which one? Which one are you gonna be?
that's amazing, bro.
Miss Jenny, ain't that what we talked about earlier when we were talking?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
precisely.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that was good, Black man. Thank you.
I don't think a lot of women understand it. It's just that simple. Like, it's not that difficult. It's just that simple. She really just made a decision that she's not going to be a problem. And by her not being a problem, he wanted to open up to her and tell her, hey, look, I'm happy to be here. I know guys. I work with guys. We would work 10 and 12-hour shifts. I'm packing up my locker, getting ready to go home. And these guys are sitting in the car. They don't want to go home. They don't want to go home. They work extra shift. They do an extra 4 hours, an extra 6 hours. And I'm like, go home. You got a wife. You got kids. And he's just looking at me. He's like, nah, it's more peaceful here. I'm like, there's no way the streets of D.C. as a police officer are more peaceful than your house. There's no way. Nah, I don't want to go in there. And so that life or knife, I'm glad that she said it. This is what I'm talking about when I say that you're either a part of the problem or you got to speak out against it. I'm glad that we're starting to see more videos of women who are starting to speak up and say, listen, stop being a part of the problem. We will talk to you. I don't have a problem telling you how bad my day was. If anything, it's cathartic. It's therapeutic to tell you, for me to get it off my chest and tell you, hey, I worked a double homicide today. Hey, I worked this today. I need to get that off the chest. I will say this, in my last relationship, that was the one good thing that we did have, because we were both police officers. So she could come home and talk to me. I knew exactly what she was going through. And I could come home and talk to her. She knew exactly what I was going through. But it's also the type of environment that you're walking into. You know, I feel bad for the guys who sit out in their driveway for an hour and literally have to mentally prepare to go into their home.
Hey, Trey, but the thing about it, I'm going to say this, I'm going to land my plane. Did you see the room? This woman was speaking marriage and how to handle her husband in a room full of women who were sitting on the floor listening to her, embracing what she was saying. And you know, do you know those women probably were touched by that and say, you know what? I need to get on the same page. I need to be better as a woman. Listen, how many passports will be used for couples trips if you had women like that? The passports will be used to go out of the country to celebrate your marriage, celebrate your child, your children, celebrate life with someone you met in the United States. If women would sit down and have these conversations, then the passports will be used for them to travel, not for him to travel.
Exactly.
Good point.
That's a fair point.
And Trey, the reason behind it as to why, these women, they like how she said that she was on the brink of, giving him attitude when he came home. And the reason why she didn't do that is because, her being a Christian, she's working on not being selfish. And so that's the main thing, is that a lot of these women today, they're very selfish. And so, yeah, I'm not concerned about what might have been going on with him and the reasoning behind why he's late. Now I got to reheat his food because I already cooked it and now it's gotten cold. So now I have to do this. And now I can't do this now. And this is pushed back. And now I can't start the dishwasher because he hasn't eaten and all this stuff. And it's all about them. And they're consumed about what they have going on and how what he's doing inconveniences them. And they're not seeking the will of the other first. And that completely it defeats the purpose of marriage, and that's why a lot of these marriages they fall on their faces due to these women.
Right. If you're a woman, either you're trained to be a queen or a princess, and there is a difference. A queen protects her king, and she has responsibilities, and she enjoys those responsibilities. But a princess gets things handed to her, you know what I'm saying, without having to have responsibility. So if you get a woman and she's daddy's little princess and she's never been trained to talk to be a queen, you're going to run across women who are going to be selfish, who are always going to look for, what are you going to do for me instead of what can I do for you? And marriage is a whole lot of what can I do for you versus what can you do for me?
Yeah.
I think one of the questions that single guys like me, when you're vetting women, it don't matter what country you're in, vetting a woman, you have to ask her, what does selflessness mean to you? Explain to me, tell me what selflessness means to you. And you have to listen to what she says. Because I completely agree with you, Miss Jenny. The amount of selfishness is through the roof. It is at an all-time high in today's world. There probably has never been a more selfish generation or group of people. And that's men and women, both, right?
Yeah.
Of being selfish. So we have to ask these questions of, and I do. Listen, I keep saying I probably should start a YouTube channel where I have a list of questions, like 70, almost 80 questions. I don't always ask them on every date, but obviously I have them. And I will go through them from time to time, and I'll just ask some questions because I want to hear an answer. And one of those questions is, what does selflessness mean to you? And you, first of all, you'd be surprised how many women don't even know what that means. That's the first thing that'll throw you off. Like, wow, she doesn't even know what selflessness means. Okay, that's bad. And then when you explain it to them, they don't know anything other than, well, I know how to take care of me. I got my career because I needed it for me. I got a degree because for me. I make the money because for me. I don't know anything else outside of this. I know how to take care of me. And that's a problem because if you're talking about being with someone, it's not about you. I talk about the foxhole. JT put me on this foxhole. I want somebody that's going to get in that foxhole with me and fight. Well, guess what? When you're in that foxhole, you can't be selfish. You have to be willing to sacrifice for the person that's next to you in the foxhole. You have to be willing to sacrifice your life. So how you gonna get in the foxhole with me and you selfish? That don't make no sense.
And I'm sure that the more women that you ask, the more you'll get answers that are kind of like this, which is what I'm assuming, which is you ask a woman, what does selflessness mean to you? And she'll probably say, oh, well, I'm all for being selfless for a man who's selfless to me.
Conditional
but it's
feminism.
like, you're completely missing the point. So next.
Yes,
because
it always comes with conditions. It's always with a condition. I'll do for you if you're that guy.
Right.
And I'm just like, well, so it's just not in you. I'm just a selfless person. I'm just a generous person. If I can help you, I'll help you. Now, I am still Trey. I'm going to give you hell about it. But I'm going to help you. But that's just Trey. Trey's going to give you hell, but I'm going to give you hell while I'm helping you. Because the goal is to teach you how to fish. I don't want you to ever have to come back and ask me again. Right? So I'm going to give you hell about it, but I'm still going to help you. A lot of women, there is conditions. There's conditions to everything. I'll do this for this. I'll do this for this. We have TikToks now that tell women, don't start being a wife until you're a wife. Well, baby, how do you get to be a wife if you don't showcase your wifely abilities? You can't show up to the job and say, I'll start doing the job as soon as y'all start paying me. You have to show them that you are capable of doing the job first, then they'll pay you. That's how it works.
Well, let's just put a little asterisk next to that because at the end of the day, my program is still all Bible-based. So when it comes to being a wife and showing your wifely qualities, that includes everything except, in the bedroom, because that is for only after you become a wife. So I had to put that little footnote down there.
Yeah.
We are all sinners.
You still got to put a stop on that thing. Put a pin on that thing, man.
That's so funny.
I want y'all have leaving kids in Mississippi. You know what I'm saying?
So Jenny, did you think you was gonna have so many men pop up here and talk about all the stuff that you started? You know.
No, I mean, I'm just glad that I had a good reception on my first show back after being gone. So I'm glad that everybody actually showed up and that I wasn't like I'm back to square one. So that was good. But yeah, I mean, and another thing, of course, I'm really glad that you guys were all here because when my camera went out for like 20 minutes, the show still went on. So yeah, and I think it's
We wanted
good
to keep
that
the place warm for you. That's all.
yes, 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 the
Here's the
black
thing.
man came to the rescue.
Here's the thing,
And
Jenny. Here's the thing. Kevin said a long time ago, we have to make room for women who want to help. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what these men have demonstrated to make sure that we give you cover while you handle business. You see what I'm saying? Want to make sure we cover your six. You know what I'm saying? To make sure you can handle business over here because you can talk to women in a way that we can. You see what I'm saying? So I'm glad you're here and I'm glad you're back. You know what I'm saying? So you can do your thing, even though you're younger than us, but in some ways you're wiser than us, and we appreciate you doing your thing.
oh man, I'm flattered, Jared. So I don't know how true that is, but I do appreciate
I'm
the
speaking
compliment.
into existence, girl. Take it now.
It's true.
Say I receive that. Say I
Yeah.
receive that.
All right, I receive it.
All right.
Um, but does anyone have any final thoughts? Any more questions for me? Any more things that they'd like to add?
I was going to
Let
ask
me just say
something
this before I
that
get off. When you put up your two things, I agree with both of them. With how you look at the passport bros and the other part, I can't hardly remember back in the day, in the beginning of the broadcast. So I do agree, but I think we have to stay kind of to understand that life is a spectrum and people fit in different areas, and more than one thing could be true at the same time. You could have tourism passport bros, and you could actually have passport bros who are looking for wives, and there's everything in between. And when people tend to focus on just little small snippets of that, it tends to trigger other people as opposed to talking of things in a spectrum. Because all of it is true. And then everything you can find overseas, you can probably find here too in America. And I understand why black women are kind of antsy about that, because essentially a lot of black women have priced themselves out of the market, and they're starting to find out that's exactly what they've done. Not all black women, but enough of them to be statistically significant. And it hurts when you find that stuff out, because that means you have to change. It means you have to change if you want to come forward. And black men, and I'm gonna end it on this, black men have actually started to grow. And these spaces in YouTube, even though it shows the good, it shows the ugly and the bad, it's showing a lot of the good as well. You got brothers like Tarus and Trey and Lost in Translation, his brother up here. We're starting to say we got expectations of women, we got standards, and we're not going to settle for anything less. And if I talk to another man who's not married, I'm gonna tell him not to settle too. And so let me just land it there. So thanks for letting me up.
Thank you, Arpane. I appreciate it.
And Jenny, before you answer this question, I want to say something. My mom had an opportunity to show my grandmother one of my shows, and the show that she showed my grandmother is the show that we were talking about marriage and talking about what Anis is alluding to now. If women have to show themselves as wives, should men show themselves to be a husband as well? Let me tell you what my grandmother said today. I was going to talk about this Tuesday on Talk That Talk Tuesday, but I'd rather go ahead and give a preview of it now. My grandmother says, anytime you correct a woman and her rebuttal is, what about the man? She said, leave her. Because she is not taking any accountability for what she is doing or the women around her. She wants to deflect to what the man is doing when you ask her a direct question. So when women are questioning and saying, what about the man? What about the man? When you're asking them about what about the woman? Because we have to understand how important the role of a woman is. The role of a woman is very important. It has an entire chapter and several verses in Proverbs. You know this, Miss Jenny, that it tells you that she's the first one up in the morning. She's a servant to her children and her husband. Her husband is proud of her.
She's like a ship that bringeth things from afar. That means she's very creative. That means she makes things happen. She seeks a field and buys it. Meaning that she goes out. It says she works with her hands. Meaning that she's not she's going out. She's working with her hands. She's doing what she has to do to make her house relevant. And the end part is they said she's the last one to go to sleep at night. They say she smiled because she doesn't worry about tomorrow, because she knows she's going to be the same woman tomorrow that she was today. Her husband will be proud of her. Everybody will know that her husband and children are proud of her. It defines what a woman is. And when you talk to a woman that have she's the definition of that, and that video that we just saw, those are the women that men need to seek after. Those are the women that men need to sit down. If a group of men walked in that room and heard those women speaking, a lot of men would change their minds and their outlook on what marriage is today. Trey would have married one of those single women who was under the tutelage of that woman that was speaking. Let's just be real.
Nah, that's facts, black man. If they coming like that, that's facts.
So I land my plane there. If Trey, see what I'm saying? If Trey considered marriage of a woman who moves like that, then damn, women, you got to get better. But I'll leave it. Go ahead, Miss Jenny. You can allude to that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that was good. Yeah, I appreciate all the different tidbits that you guys throw in. It's good. It makes the conversation more well-rounded. But so to answer your question, Anissa, I would say yes, that, of course, a man should show what he brings to the table per se, and, what makes him a good husband, because, as a wife, my job is to follow, and my job is to submit. And so I don't want to sign on for the rest of my life to be a part of some program that I don't agree with, and that I just don't feel comfortable signing on to. And so he would have to show that, he's trying to move into a direction that I feel comfortable going to, and that he has proven himself to be a competent enough leader that I can trust in him, so that way I can submit to him. And so things like that. And so, yeah, it is important that a man shows himself to be a good husband.
Yeah,
You know what? Let me sprinkle some.
It's a lot of road
Miss
dogs.
Jenny, can I hop in here?
It's a lot of road dogs. We get in a bad area, but I want to say this real quick before I drop off. When she says, "Do men have a responsibility?" Just a question. It seems like I heard single women should show themselves to be wives. Now, lost in translation.
I'm finna put some bacon bits on this.
Okay,
No, I was gonna say, let me have this one, because this is easy. This is an easy one.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
you
this. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna drop off. If Anissa says she's a Christian and she reads the Word of God and she knows He's Lord of Lords, Kings of Kings, all of that beautiful stuff. Well, if you know who God is and you read His Word, then you understand that the Word simply says this: "He who findeth a wife findeth a good thing and gets favor from the Lord." Meaning, when He finds you, you already have the characteristics, you already have the character of a wife. So absolutely, yes. Now, a man is a man. But that scripture right there defines what it is when a man is looking for. When everybody wants a Boaz, but don't nobody want to have the work ethic of Ruth. I'll land my plane.
Wait. How do you have all these different rules for women, BM? But then men, it's just a man is a man. What kind of crap is that, bro?
Hang on.
That makes it sound like we ain't responsible for shit.
Hold on a second.
Hang on. This is simple.
Bible, man. Come
on, but because the Bible don't but Lost, guess what? The Bible don't let us get it off like that. The Bible don't say a man is a man. I'm not even religious, and I know that the Bible hold men to a high ass standard.
And so I can explain this. This is the thing she's skipping. From the very moment that I approached you, I have had to show husband qualities.
Come on.
Women want leaders.
No, BM, that is not what you said, BM.
Let me explain it to you.
What I'm alluding to.
Let me explain it to you.
Hold on, Trey.
Let me because he doesn't get this. The fact of the matter is, Teruse, you did it with your wife. You probably didn't notice it, but you did it. The moment I say, "Hey, let me take you out on Friday," I'm showcasing leadership. I picked the place. I told you what time to be there. I'm showcasing leadership qualities.
Trey, I agree with you.
I
What I'm
pay for
saying
the.
is,
Hey, let me finish. Let me
no,
finish.
Trey, but you're not
Let
gonna.
me
But
let me
just like
finish.
you checked, information man, and you cut him off, you address me, so I'm gonna address you. I'm not disagreeing with you, Trey. What I'm
Then why are you
saying is
speaking
that
on it?
because, well, one, you mentioned my name, and two, BM speak on it. You see, BM tried to just say a man's a man, but what you're saying is the same thing I agree with.
No, I'm
The
not. I'm
Bible,
not saying that.
Trey. So the Bible doesn't have a high standard for men.
Yes, but that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, but I was responding to
let him
BM.
finish his thought, man. Let him finish his
You know what I
thought.
mean?
Yeah,
Let him finish
go
his
ahead,
thought.
because he can address me.
If I had to
Him
pick
in
the
box
place
in a
where
minute.
we ate, I had to showcase leadership skills. I had to pick the date. I had to pick the time and to tell you how to dress properly, right? If I picked you up, I had to be there on time. My chivalry, I opened the door for you. I helped you down the steps because your heels are so high, I don't want you to break your neck. That's protection. I'm already showcasing husband qualities. I paid for the dinner. That's provision. I'm already showcasing husband qualities. When you got home, I made sure you got home safely. Protection. If you drove yourself, what do we say as men, Lou? Hey, let me know when you get home. I just want to make sure you got home safely.
Yep,
Protection. I am always on display from the very beginning. My husband qualities are there. I am always showcasing them.
A man is a man.
No, that's not.
Come on, Teruse. I know you're ready, man.
No,
Don't get it off
and
your
again,
chest,
Trey,
man.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I keep disagreeing with BM every time you say something, Trey, and then he goes, "A man is a man." No,
Well,
no,
that might be his
no.
interpretation of it. That might be his
Hold on,
interpretation of it.
let me address it. When I say a man is if you look at the Bible, it says a man is a protector. He is a provider. He is a man that will stand in front of an army for his family. He is a man who is righteous. He's going to be right there with his family. When you come to real men, I'm not talking about the little boys who was raised by single mamas who act gay during the night and be with their wives during the day. I'm talking about men who are men.
Go off.
I'm talking about men who get the fuck up like me. If I say I'm a man, I'm a man. There's nobody that can come touch my wife, touch my daughter, touch my kids. I will destroy the earth over my family. I am a man, that I am a provider. I am a protector. And when I say a man is a man, I'm talking from a biblical standpoint. Every man in the Bible defended their wife. They defended their nation. They defended their. So when I say a man is a man, biblically defined of those great men in the Bible, they man is a man. There's a chapter in the Bible of Proverbs. You said you're not a Christian, but you read. Okay, great. Proverbs is an entire chapter. An entire book teaching men how to pick the right women and what women to look for, because men are authority and God likes to work through men to give those men that authority, but they also have to have somebody by their side who is clear, who is their mind is together. They're not in it for the wrong reasons. And if you read the whole book of Proverbs, it'll tell you, hey, men, this is what you need to pick. This is what she looks like. This is how she acts. This is how she moves. It is better to do this. Sleep on the roof of your house. Don't fool with quarrelsome women. Their bodies are like honey, but their voices are like serpents. I mean, you got to go and just read it. It teaches. It's a whole book of it. And so that's why I say a man is a man. That's what I mean. Men are always going to step up. Even with women, they don't even know they step up, which they need to stop that shit. But men will step up for women they don't even know. If I go out here right now and I see a man jump out of a van and grab a little girl, I'm gonna go protect that girl because I'm being a man.
BM.
That's all I'm saying, bro.
BM. Would you agree with me when I say that when I got married at 20 years old, probably half the qualities of man I didn't display because I was 20 years old? Would you agree with that?
That's because your wife had grace for you.
Exactly.
But you should have grace for your
wife. Right. Exactly. Which the point is that we're not all finished products, right?
We're never finished.
When we happen to fall in love, or when we think we're ready to get married, or when that stuff just happens, right? Like the Bible says we ain't got to get married as finished products, right? The Bible doesn't say we got to get married as finished products.
No,
right.
You have to build.
No. So all these man, bro, what does that mean? Like BM, that's what I'm saying. When you said that about women, bro, when you broke it down, there was a whole outline. But the first time, and then the second time I asked you, there was no outline. It was just a man's a man. Like this is the Expendable movies, bro. Like, what does that mean?
Well,
It's okay. It's okay, brother. It's all right to take an L every now and then, man. I take quite a few of them too. It's all right.
Come on, man.
It's all right, man.
Come on.
Hey, like your boy said, Ving Ray, that's pride messing with you, man. Pulp Fiction, y'all remember that? Oh, Marcellus Wyatt told what's his name? Bruce Willis, that's pride messing with you.
I'm just asking a clarified question. BM, when you was married, you wasn't a finished product. BM, when you got married, you wasn't finished product either.
Hold on. When I got married, like we just agreed, all of us on the panel agreed that you're never a finished product. You always have something to learn, always something to do, always something to refresh with. However, when I got married, if my wife was here right now, she will attest. When I got married, I know for a fact that this man will lay his life on the line for me. I know this man would do A, B, C, D, E, F, G for me. I know what I have. And even though I still had to build, the foundation was already there.
Yeah, so I think that, Black Man, what you're saying is that when it comes to a man, that he has just certain innate qualities that, are the jumping point, like the start off point. Like women have certain innate qualities that just naturally differ from men. And so that, no one's a finished product, no matter how old they are. But when you are seriously dating someone, when you're courting someone, if you're looking to be married, that a man is going to exhibit those inherent qualities of a man. I think that's what you're saying, right?
Right.
That is correct.
Unfortunately, I have to disagree, especially in the context of this passport, bros, as it relates to the Bible. Because again, in other countries, Trey mentioned it accurately, by the way. In other countries, you get married early. There ain't no waiting until you 30, 35. So again, are these guys displaying all the traits that require the husband at 20, 21, 22?
Not all of them, but some of them.
Some of them.
Yeah.
But how did you ask for more than that, Tarus?
Come on, man.
It seems a little unfair to
Tarus, listen, hold on a second. Y'all. Tarus, that's a straw man argument. Okay. I'm gonna tell you why it's a straw man argument. You lost the Black Man Unfiltered, then you injected the 20-year-old passport bro who ain't got his stuff together. That's not the question we're talking about. The question we're talking about was Anissa asking her, does a man have to show himself to be a husband before a woman shows herself to be a wife?
Right. And what Black Man answered the question, lost. Black Man answered the question with not a yes or no. He answered with, a man is a man.
Well, let's ask Black Man Unfiltered what he said, because I'm not going to put words in his mouth.
If he's a 20-year-old passport bro, he has to have some of it together.
No, but not even just a passport bro, but like you acknowledge, in these other countries, no matter what your situation is when you go to another country as it relates to religion, are we not a finished product? And do these women not want to get married at a very early age?
Tarus,
they do want to get married at a very early age, but you don't have to be a finished product.
Right.
Not to change Tarus, hold on a second.
Like we do,
not to change the topic. Not to change the topic, to go back to what Anissa said, because I don't like straw man arguments because they derail the conversation. Okay. I'm very aware how people do these panels. And that's the very reason why I'm here, because I notice stuff like that. Now, here's the deal. If a woman asks you to do something before she does something, she's not into you. She's not. She's looking to disqualify you. And I think that's what a lot of Christian women do. They put up this whole big stack of Bible verses and all this other stuff you got to jump through to prove that you're a man of God before they say yes. And you know what? They keep stacking up these little green Bibles for you to hurdle over. You see what I'm saying? At the end of the day, they never offered to say, hey, this is what I do. There's a saying that I saw on this movie that I love called The Kingsman. It says, manners maketh man. If you're going to be a gentleman, you're going to be a gentleman regardless of who's around. If there's an old lady who needs me to walk across the street, I'm not going to say, hey, old lady, show me that you're a lady first before I show you that I'm a gentleman. I'm going to walk you across the street. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. So when a lady says that, hey, I'm a lady regardless, of whether or not a man is going to be a gentleman or not, he has nothing to do with whether or not she's going to be a lady. So when women say, yes, do men have to show that they have to do before this? To me, that sounds like somebody who doesn't know how to be a wife.
That's
Okay.
these are very strange comments right now.
They're deflecting. Don't stop me now. Because they're deflecting the responsibility that is required by them by moving the goalposts and asking somebody else to do something first.
Yes,
I think we have to get away from that.
That's actually a very weird thing to say.
Nah.
It's not weird.
I'm gonna respond directly.
Not weird, bro.
No, it's a very weird thing to say because on these
let it breathe, bro.
Bruce,
let it breathe, bro.
Let that breathe for a second. What he just said was important.
Let it breathe. Let it breathe, bro.
Oh, really? So
let it breathe, bro.
So anyway, it's a really strange comment because these are the same panels that for the last year would tell women to do these very same vetting techniques that you crying about before you even bring that man over to meet your father. You better meet the standard before you even bring him over. So now all of a sudden that's a bad thing.
Tarus. Before you get listen. I want to help. Listen, I want to listen. I want to
saying something that we tell women.
Tarus, listen. I want to answer your question,
bro.
But I'm gonna need you. I'm gonna need you. Listen.
Y'all confused.
Listen, brother.
Hey, I'm gonna hop off real quick because
listen, brother. I want to make sure we stay on track, and I want to answer your
question. Get your finger out that
But I want to make sure. But I want to make sure I answer it point by point. What happens is when we get on these panels, people like to rapid fire and say stuff because they're emotional. I want to answer each one of your questions one by one.
Bro,
you give me one question. Listen. To be fair, give me one question and allow me to
You went on this whole thing and you didn't let me answer you.
No. Give me one question and I'll give you an answer. It's cordial.
Okay, and I give you this question.
Come on.
We tell our young daughters to vet these men exactly how you just finished describing as a bad thing before they even bring that boy over to meet the father. Everything you just described, Lost, is that you said is a negative, is things that for the last year, these very men on these panel have been telling these women, hey, you better vet these men properly. You better make sure he checks all these boxes before you even bring him to the home. So now I'm trying to understand why in 2023, Lost, that was good information for women. And now you're saying in 2024, it's bad.
Tarus, I need you to give me an example.
I'm
going to tell you why. No, that's not. Listen,
now you're moving.
Listen, no, I'm not. That's not an example.
Now you're playing games.
That's not an example. I'm going to tell you why it's not an example. It's not an example because you're not being specific.
I asked you a question.
No, you didn't. You made a statement.
I actually.
No, you didn't.
I said, why?
No, you didn't. You made a statement.
Why in 2020?
Listen.
So
you
now,
made a statement.
Hey, y'all, I gotta get out. I'm in my destination. So thank y'all, man. Y'all helped me get through my drive tonight, brother. So I appreciate y'all, man. I'll see y'all later.
My thing is you made us. Let me finish. My thing is you made a statement, but you weren't specific. You said all these panels. I need to know which specific show so I can address it.
On different panels, when we talk about what are we supposed. Okay, for example, the last panel you and I were on, where we were talking about. As a matter of fact, Trey was on the same panel. We was talking about how we're going to raise our daughters. Remember how I told you I wasn't going to raise them so that a man's income requirement, right? We was all, yeah, that's good. We was all talking about how everything that you was mentioning, where you got to vet these guys, that these guys need to check all these boxes. We want to do those things. We want our daughters to vet these guys properly. Now I'm asking you, why is that all of a sudden a bad thing?
I'm going to tell you why. Because you entered into the conversation with a straw man argument. We weren't talking about vetting. No.
Using that word,
we were not. No, because I know what I'm talking about. We were talking about whether or not a woman should be showing herself as a woman before the man shows himself to be a husband. That conversation that you had with your daughter has nothing to do with this conversation. I know you want to win so bad.
Isn't that part of showing?
Listen, brother. I know you want that win so bad.
It's not about
let it go, bro. Let it go.
there's nothing to let go.
Listen,
It's not
we're
about
derailing. Listen, man, we're derailing the
I'm not-
conversation, bro.
How am
We're
I
derailing the
derailing
conversation. No, I want to let our pain get up here because he's been patiently waiting. Let it stew. Let the emotions flow, man. And then we'll come back.
No.
We'll revisit. We'll revisit it once
Come
you think
back when
about
you
it.
actually-
No. We'll revisit.
You actually answer my
We'll
question.
revisit it once you calm down. Okay.
I'm not.
Come on, our pain.
Hey, listen, not to derail this conversation because I guess it's going to keep going. But the one thing I told my daughter though is that if she's interested in a guy, introduce him to me right away, so I can save you some time. If he's a bum, I want to let you know so you don't waste too much emotional currency on the dude. If he's okay, it's best that we know that early on, and whether your relationship goes any further or not, that's not my choice. But if he's a bum, I'm gonna try to find out as soon as I can, and I'm gonna let you know. So don't be waiting a whole long time when you're all emotionally caught up with the dude, because what I say to you is not going to get through as much. So if he's a guy that you think is worthy to have a relationship with, any kind of relationship other than just a sexual one, and I encourage you not to do that. But once you're a grown woman, I can't stop you from it. But introduce him to me right away, and so I can know. We can sit down, we can talk, and I can figure out what kind of guy he is. And if he's somebody I see all the red flags, I'm gonna let you know. And I want to get to you before you're too emotionally enamored with the guy, because you're not gonna hear what I say. So that's how I deal with my daughters in their relationship.
Jenny, here's the thing. When Anissa asked you that question earlier, probably a probing question we should ask is, what type of wifely duties are you asking about? Because here's the thing. Husband duties is like what Trey said, opening the doors, that type of thing, stuff that doesn't cost money. You know what I'm saying? So a wifely duty would be to ask a man how he's doing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Hold his hand. You know what I'm saying? Have something nice to say about him. Hey, honey, you look nice today. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily know if that's a wifely duty or that's something that a woman should just, say just to say because it's nice to do. But I think those are the small things that we have to ask, those little small probing questions, so we can get some clarity. You see what I'm saying? We're not asking you to come over and wash this man's dirty drawers or clean up his house or nothing like that.
Lost in translation, one of the things we got to say is, Trey, that was a pretty good rundown.
It was.
That was a really good rundown of what, a guy who's interested in a girl, what we do just out of rip, and whether that's completely husband duties. If a woman can't understand that this guy's willing to, open your door, do this, do that, to take you out, not worried about where we're going, that's a plus, right? It's not just to get you somewhere and to get you back. It's like these things are natural, especially if it's natural to you. It's like what I do with my wife. Same thing, even from the first words I said to her, it was completely out of my character, right? Because I said, because I felt this opportunity and I took it. And when she gave me her number, I called her the next day. I didn't say, I'm going to wait 6-7 days and see if, it's Stu. No, I called her the next day. And when I took her number, I said, listen, when I call you, you better act like you know who I am. And she looked at me like I was crazy, but I said it anyway. And we, so go ahead.
Hey, Loss, something that Colombian women do?
What's that?
They'll call you and they'll ask you, did you eat today?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Did you drink water today? I'm gonna tell you something that threw me way off.
What's that?
When she asked me what color was my urine, I looked at her, what are you talking about?
Make sure your kidney's working.
She want to make sure
that
I drank water today. That don't cost no money. That is not sex involved. But that's a woman who cares. I can tell, okay, you care about me. Well, what did you have for lunch today? Did you eat lunch today? She knows I go to the gym. Did you go to the gym today? So when this wifely duties, wifely qualities, yes, you should be displaying them beforehand. Like I said, in the analogy I use, I have never worked anywhere in my life where they paid me before I showed the ability to do the job. Most times you don't get paid until 2 weeks after you've already been working. And then they got the nerve to put you on probation in case they don't like the way you work, they're going to fire you. So where in the world do we get off with this? Oh, I'm going to do it conditionally. I think a lot of men today, and this is where the red pill space is really coming from. It's educating men. Listen, don't stand by and let her just kind of dictate how she's going to know. She has to do something too. And you need to be aware of these things. If this is the type of woman who's telling you, I'll be a wife when I'm a wife. When you marry me, then I'll show you I can be a wife. Negative. You're going to show me beforehand or you'll never get a ring.
You know what, Trey? I'm glad you said that because I heard somewhere. I don't know who I heard it, but I know I heard it in this space. It says men are taught how to treat women, but they're not taught what to expect to receive from women. But women are taught to receive from men, but not what to expect to give to men. And I think that is the problem. We always want to harp on what the men should do for women, but we never tell men that you should expect something in return. So I think that is the problem. You know what I mean? And anytime when I hear a woman says, well, if a man does this, should a woman do that? To me, what that screams is if I'm not ready to be a wife yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up another brick wall as a smoke screen to say that, hey, if you do this, then I'll do that. Well, guess what? The only thing that winds up is coming up is you get another brick on top of another brick on top of another brick. And next thing you know, I got this brick wall and the guy gone. He got his passport and he up out of here. You see what I'm saying? He up out of here. So I think that whenever we ask questions like that, we have to get down to the root of it and start asking probing questions so we can get an idea of what they really want to know instead of them saying these regular talking points just to win. You know what I'm saying? Just to get off a win, which is a straw man argument. Come on, Jenny.
Oh no, I was looking at the comments for a second, but yeah, I think you're right. Yes, Lou, you've been awful quiet. Do you have anything that you want to add?
Yeah. One monkey wrench I want to think about is that there's no disqualifiers if you like us. There really isn't. If you're into us, there's none of this. You have to be 6 feet tall or whatever, having money. If you really into us, it doesn't matter. All that gets
Yeah.
thrown out the window. I mean, I've had women of almost every race. I'm not the tallest guy, and right now I'm not the skinniest guy. If they want you, they want you. And that's really the bottom line. So when you start talking about these qualifiers, there really are disqualifiers. I've heard KS say it so many times. And then I was also thinking about something that Taru said earlier. I wanted to add something because I think a lot of times when we say we are looking for, a wife, we're confusing American values with real biblical values. We've talked about it before a couple times, Proverbs 31, and there's like a lot of things in there that does not line up with American women. Like, for instance, the verse that says that she dresses herself with strength and makes her arms strong. That's not an overweight person. That's somebody that's fit. And then we talk about
Where's Jared?
huh?
I'm gonna give him some sprinkles for that one.
I mean, and then we have a lot of American women that want these like Birkin bags and things like that, where it clearly talks about her actually making money for herself, where she has her hands holding the spindle. She's making money. She's also she's making linen garments and selling them and delivering sashes to the merchant. So that throws all that mess out of the face that the man actually has to bring all the bread home. We're talking about a group of people at that time that was under oppression. Sounds familiar. It doesn't mean that we're in slavery, but we're definitely not the chief of everything right now. And the Bible understands that we all have to do this together. That it doesn't mean that the man could just sit on the couch and just watch this woman work, but we have to be thinkers. We have to be thinking about how we're going to survive the next day. And that's the kind of woman that's a godly woman, is somebody that's thinking, hey, I gotta put my part in. And not just because he's not able to bring money in. We're talking about building communities, building strong communities. That starts with a real family. And you can't do that without thinkers.
Yeah, you're right. Um, so that kind of goes back to what Jared and I were saying earlier about how, a lot of men and women, they feel this kind of attitude of being pitted against each other. But like you're saying, we have to work together. A man can't just sit around and watch his wife work, and a good wife isn't just going to sit around and do nothing while her husband's working. She's going to be doing things in the house and making sure that the house is at home, and giving the husband what he needs, and that requires a lot of work. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
I mean, I was raised in a family where my dad, he would work 12 hours a day in the plant. He would come home and cook literally a 5-star dinner for everybody. And my mom didn't have to lift a finger. He would cook this wonderful meal, and then he would literally give her a massage and everything, and then go, everybody's going to bed. So you had servants on both sides. And you're talking about, the kind of romance that you can get from two people that's actually, working together, working hard, not just for the family, but to actually please each other. And so, and oh, one other thing, Black men usually are attracted to Black women for the most part. So even though they be passport bros, they're looking for you over there. And that's what I think is missing in the conversation. Is I think that what is happening is that they jump to, oh, they must want to get white women or something like that. When for the most part, we're still choosing you, but just not in the United States.
Hmm.
And so we have to give the passport bros a little bit more credit than that. There's going to be sex tourists. That happens in every race. But there's actually the legitimate men that go overseas, and they're not just going for that. When I go overseas, I'm going on mission trips. I'm going there to try to make a difference, or I'm just trying to check this off my bucket list. I don't care about going over there for any females. If I want females, if that's all I want, you can just swipe left, swipe right. They're right there for you. There's so many sites. They just say I'm hungry. They'll just come right over. It's so easy for men nowadays. I don't understand. It's so easy if that's what all you want is sex. But I think that that Black men in the passport bro community are saying we want traditional women, and we want somebody that looks like you, but they're going to be somewhere else where they're in a more traditional setting. So.
It's interesting that you say that, Lou, because you said something earlier that I thought was funny about how you asked your sons did they want to be with Black women, and they were like, no. So, and you said you're disappointed, but there is still plenty of hope because my husband is Black, and if you knew me when I was in high school, you would be completely dumbfounded because I swore up and down I would never be with a Black guy. And because growing up, they were the ones who picked on me and the ones who made fun of me and called me names. And I've always felt kind of ostracized by the Black community, especially by Black men. And so I was decided that I wasn't gonna have anything to do with them. And when I became an adult, I really only dated white guys. And then my husband just like came out of the sky. I don't know what happened. And then 5 months later, we were married. And so they might say that now, and I was saying that right up until I met him. And so there's still hope. So my
Yeah.
parents, they're pleased. They were kind of disappointed when I said that I was never going to marry a black guy. They were going to have these little mixed kids, grandkids. But so deep down inside, their prayers were answered.
Yeah.
Well, you have to acknowledge that it's different for men than it is for women. It's a very good chance that if his kids don't want to be with a black woman, they're not going to be with a black woman.
And what they're speaking to,
'Cause they have-
what they're speaking to is that a lot of them are growing up very mean. I mean, just mean. More girls are fighting than boys. That's way different than me when I was growing up. There was always fist fights and everything among the boys, but these girls, they are out of control, and they're very masculine when it comes to even approaching it. Because I have cute boys. I have great genes in my family, you know. So they always trying to get at them, and they have a nasty disposition. They say all the stuff that grown-ups say, and these are little kids, 10 and 9, and they don't want that. So I think that's what they're really, really saying at the end of the day. They want somebody that's nice and friendly, you know. Pretty much
Hey,
same thing.
Lou, let me ask you a question, man. You ever own a vehicle with a V8 engine?
Yeah.
Okay. What usually goes in a V8 engine? What type of gas? What, 93?
Well, if you wanted to run one rail, yeah.
Correct. The problem is these women, they are running off 89 octane. You ever been in a car that had 89 octane in it? It get to spitting and backfiring, and you can't get no type of combustion. You know, the car rides rough and raggedy.
Yeah.
We got women that's got 80 and 89 octane, man, when they really should be running 93, bro. That's the problem. We got them running on the wrong stuff, bro. And I think your sons actually know that. It's just probably hard for them to articulate that. You know what I mean? They just say, hey, I want somebody that's nice to me. But these chicks backfiring, man. They spark plugs messing up. The ride is riding rough. You know what I'm saying? So that goes back to making sure that these women demonstrate wifely duties beforehand. We talking about kids in high school. If you can't even be nice to somebody in high school who can't give you anything, come on, man. What you think gonna happen when these boys start making money, man? They're not gonna stick around for that. They're gonna go where 93 octane is on the menu. You know what I'm saying? And we
go back to that live we had with Jabari. And when I asked him why not the black girls, and listen to what he says. Essentially, he summed up. He said that the Asian girls are nicer. It's essentially what he said, wrapped up. If I can just sum it all up, the Asian girls are softer. They don't yell. They don't curse. They hardly curse. It's just different. We're talking about teenagers. And he's already figuring that out. By the time he's 23, 24, what you gonna tell him? He 8 years in the game. He done seen this for the last 8 years from black women. Like I said before, I'm retired from black women. 21 years in the game. I'm tired. I'm done. No more black women. I tried. It ain't work.
So I guess I'm the only one whose parents actually taught me what to expect from women.
It has nothing to do with what you were taught. It has nothing to do with that.
Well, that was a comment
and you weren't the only one.
That was a comment made before, though. You guys keep acting like some of this home training ain't going on. Like we getting into this real black pill crap right now.
Lou, let me ask you a question. By you teaching your sons what to expect, what did that have to do with the other girls that were treating him mean?
Well, as somebody who got,
I was talking to Lou.
Well, you didn't.
I was talking to Lou. Go ahead, Lou.
I didn't understand your question. Say it again.
All right. You taught your sons what to expect, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. What I was asking you is, what does that have to do with the girls treating your sons poorly? See, we can expect men to be good all day long, but if what they're experiencing is what they're experiencing, then that has, let me finish. That has absolutely nothing to do with that's the reason why we had these conversations. because we move the goalposts and don't address the issue. Now, if your sons had good experiences with little black girls, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have said that. Is that a fair statement? Is that a fair statement?
No.
I would say so. I'm just laughing because I think they do, but it's not in general.
Yo, what world do we live in where little girls don't tease little boys all the time, especially at teenagers when their hormones are raging? Am I the only one who grew up in America where women would actually like tease and do little things like that to boys they like? Was that?
That doesn't mean they have to date them. They don't mean they have to date them.
But he's Lawson's trying to make it seem like that's a horrible thing. But that's just teenagers, bro.
It is a horrible thing.
Like,
here's the thing.
Jesus Christ.
Terus, what I was saying was the little Asian girls treated them with respect. Was that not a fair statement, Lou?
That's fair.
See,
I mean,
they weren't teasing.
We weren't making Japanese girls do the same thing to Japanese.
Listen, the reason why I said that is because we make excuses for little black girls and we're afraid to call it out.
What about the white girls that tease the white boys?
We're not talking about white kids.
But what you're talking about is not a race.
That's a straw man argument. Let's stay on task.
You're making a straw man.
Let's stay on
task.
task.
To make it seem like a universal principle.
Let's stay on task. Let's stay on task.
You keep coming.
Let's stay on task. Let's stay on task.
Hey, Teresa wants you to go to the restaurant. They got constant bad service. Just keep going back. They'll get better.
No, I'm good. I'm trying to get y'all on my level. Happily married.
No, that's not what that is, sir.
That's what y'all can't.
The reason why I asked, listen,
even fully black. Come on,
the reason why I asked Lou that question is because we like to make excuses for our women instead of addressing the issue at hand. We have sat here and had a conversation about what Lou's young boys experienced, what the other guys like Black Man Unfiltered son experienced, what Trey Ferg's sons experienced, but nobody ever said anything about, hey, we might want to talk to the girls and tell them, hey, you might want to be a little nicer. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, hey, Norris, we have told women they ain't listening to us no more. That's the issue. They're not listening. I mean, I don't know how many bullhorns that we have to say what we want. They're just not listening. So it's women like Jenny and some other women, and she's coming on, and a lot of other women are starting to say the things that women need to hear, and they're getting barraged for it, which is expected. But I think it is going to start to stick, and the women who want to move in the right direction will, and the ones who won't will get left behind. I mean, just like Trey said, he's giving up on women, which I don't know black women, which I don't know if I necessarily believe. I think if one comes in front of you and shows the qualities, you'll probably melt like a cheap suit. But we'll see. But as far as I'm concerned, it's time to leave the ones who don't want to follow men who are on their square behind. And it's enough talk already. It really is. So like on Monday, I'm gonna be on this off your sandals. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Ain't that what Jesus said? Knock the dust off your sandals and keep it moving. Ain't that what he said, Arpain?
If he said that, yeah, it's a good quote. If he said that, yeah.
Come on back to Ruth.
I mean, Arpain, you might be right. Jordan did come out of retirement. Tom Brady did come out of retirement. I'm just in retirement. Anything's possible.
Anything's possible.
Yeah, guys, everybody listening. If the little girls are teasing your little boys, it's a horrible thing. You don't want girls teasing your boys at all. Yeah.
Who said that, though?
I would tell my son to veer towards the girl who has a pleasant disposition. Right. And if that's not the black girls, then go with the girls that have a pleasant disposition. Because the thing is that they don't get better. This doesn't get better. If she has a bad disposition and she thinks that that's okay at 16, she's probably not going to be better at 21. She's probably not going to be better at 25. So I would prefer for my son at a dating age, which is about 16, I would much rather for him to date the girl that is nice to him. Because more than likely, she's going to stay nice to him as they grow together.
Trey, let me ask you a question. Should we not protect our boys from trauma just as well as we protect our girls from trauma? Is that not a fair
We
I'm
statement?
definitely protecting my daughters from
we would
punks.
never tell a
That's for
girl,
sure.
a young girl, I would never tell my daughter, go deal with the boys that are mean to you. I would never do that. But for the boys, it's suck it up. Oh, they just teasing you.
I mean, don't we
We
always
would never
acknowledge
do
the
that to our
fundamental
daughter.
difference? Don't we always acknowledge that there's a fundamental difference between men and women? And then we get mad about the fundamental differences between men and women. Jesus Christ, guys. God damn.
Can't use
Truth,
God
like
for advantage.
truth, the women are running off 89 octane, brother. It's not the same
Bro, no,
stuff.
some of them are running off of 91. You got to give them credit. And some 93 out there lost. Stop it. There's
But here's
plenty
the
of women
thing:
running on 93 out there.
the nice riding
Statistically
cars cost you.
insignificant. There's so few of them, they don't matter.
No, there's
Statistically
plenty of
insignificant.
93s out there, bro. Oh, we using field types now. There is plenty of 93s with no ethanol.
No, it's not.
Okay.
No, it's
Yes.
not. And you wouldn't know because you
Yes.
haven't been
That's
dating.
Shell V Power.
You wouldn't know.
Yes, I know
You
because I
wouldn't
got a
know.
German
No, you
woman with
wouldn't.
two
No, you
German
wouldn't.
cars in the driveway. I know all about that 93,
Here go
sir.
you married guys want to make arguments for something you can't argue about because you don't have the experience.
But
You
I
don't
do
know.
have the experience.
No, you don't. How long you been
Sure,
married?
I do.
How long you been married?
15 years.
You can't talk.
Sure, I can. Isn't that
You
the
can't
point?
talk.
Hey, isn't
Hey,
the
Trey.
point? Isn't the point to
Trey,
get married and
what's your
be in a
topic,
long
Trey? You out
term?
of touch.
Whoa,
And then
whoa,
what
whoa,
you
whoa.
always
He is
Isn't the
out of
point?
touch.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny? You guys keep
Arpane,
saying the lost
Arpane,
in
you got
touch,
a
but you
buddy.
guys
You got a
have been
Robin
making
to
the
your
same
Batman.
argument.
You got a
Lost.
Robin
What's
to your
funny about
Batman.
this is
Look,
that men,
Arpane.
since
See,
I was
another one that's
18
out of
years
touch
old, lost,
because he's
men have been
old
whining
and
about the
married.
same things they whining about now. Men have been whining about the same things since I was 18. I'm 36 now. Guess what? The conversations are still the same. You better males keep whining about the same crap you've been doing. It's just like if you ask people in another generation, oh, this generation don't know anything about music. Yeah. If you ask the people, you keep going back, this country's been going to shit since 1776. And Trey, you know this better than everybody else because I think you joined the army or the military around the same thing, around the same year I did, and around 2006. And guess what happened in 2006? You know what the NCOs were saying, Lost? Man, this is a new army. These soldiers they ain't ready for everything. And then when I got out the army in 2014, you know what the new generation of NCOs Lost said? Man, these new soldiers, they not ready for this. They don't know anything. It's almost as if people keeps having the same goddamn arguments over and over and over again. Women have been saying they want a high salary man for decades. And guess what, Lost? They still let our broke asses slide up in them, right? How can women say they got these high standards and yet we keep pointing out all the women with the baby mamas? Something's not or baby daddies. Something's not adding up here. Something's not adding up here, folks.
Teruse, let me ask you a question. What's the common denominator?
The common denominator is people thinking everything is linear. That's the common denominator. The common denominator is people getting mad at the differences between men and women, yet won't shut up trying to point out the differences between men and women. Like, it's like some of y'all want to date your homeboys. So why are you mad at the transgender community? Just get you a trans guy if you like a woman with a dick. If you want to date your homeboy, if you want that gender fluidity, go and get that. But for us men who actually like women, I like the differences. I like the differences.
Straw man argument.
If you want a woman,
I don't understand your argument, Teruse.
If you want a woman
what is your
who thinks like a man, go get you a transgender.
What is your argument right now?
Go get a trans.
Because
if
the difference is between men and women, aren't women supposed to be nice?
Bro, if you want a woman that thinks like a man, go get you a trans. I want a woman.
Do you want that woman to be nice to you?
Bro, I don't give a shit. Guess what, Trey? Trey, at 14.
Shaming language. Listen, Teruse. Shaming language doesn't work here, brother. All the you a beta male. Listen, brother.
I want you.
Listen. I hate to do that. I really do. There's a reason why I got control of this show. Okay. What we're not going to do is we're not going to use shaming language. It's a poor display of your mental capacity. Okay. I'm going to let you back up, but you're going to have to agree to use your thinking cap. Okay?
He's
We're not
usually
going to
much
shame
better than
people.
that.
We're
He's
not going to
usually
call
much better
people.
than
We're
that.
not going to call people beta males. That's pointless. Okay? What we do here is we listen to what people say. We talk about the point. We don't inject other things into the conversation that has nothing to do with the conversation just to get a win. Okay? Now, if you agree to that, nod your head and I'll let you back up.
Well, if he
All
uses
right.
gossip in vain anymore, then he's getting kicked for the rest of the show.
Mm.
Hey, I'll just show up to the next panel. So yeah, I'll agree to the rule though.
All right.
So here's the thing. Once again, I won't use any shaming language. So I'll be really nice.
Save the sarcasm too. We don't need that sauce.
Oh, come on, Lost. Dang.
No,
man.
save it.
Okay.
We're not going to derail the conversation.
No, fine.
You're better than this, Terus. You're better than this.
Okay, Lost. The problem is that we keep arguing about the differences between men and women, while then simultaneously in the next panel talking about the LBGT, there's a difference between men and women. Well, Dan, what are we mad about then? Like, yo, there's certain, like, here's the thing. When you look at child psychologists, Lost, guess what? Is a common thing that women, preteen, teenagers, things like that, yeah, they like teasing boys that they like. As a matter of fact, I thought that was common knowledge, by the way. Yeah, women, they like to tease. Jeannie, am I wrong? Do some women display that? Like they tease little boys that they like?
Yeah, that's true. But I think that
what we're
talking about is not just teasing, it's actual disrespect.
But Jeannie, would you also acknowledge that is a universal thing amongst women that has nothing to do with your skin tone?
To an extent, I think you could say.
Do you think that Japanese little girls probably tease the Japanese little boys? Do you think the German little girls probably tease the German little boys?
To an extent, but I think that there are differing severities of it by culture. And I don't think that a Chinese girl would talk to a Chinese boy nearly the same way a black girl talks to a black boy. I think we could all agree on that.
The Chinese girl, especially now, has all the power due to that disastrous one-child policy. So Chinese women absolutely be getting it off on these Chinese men because they have all the leverage now. Jeannie, did you know that there are now 30 million more men than there are women in China?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they have all the leverage. Right? There's a lot of the cultures where the women, where we want to talk. It's funny that we talk about Christianity and household because a lot of these Western men, and if we want to get into this race stuff, Western black men, y'all wouldn't be able to handle the non-Western women and how they run their household. A lot of y'all will run and get those divorces real quick. Because again, a lot of y'all go overseas with this horrible preconceived notions of how these women operate. But guess what? If you went to Nigeria, some of y'all wouldn't be able to handle a Nigerian housewife. They'd run you out the house because you're not man enough. That's not a bad thing. I'm just talking in general, Lost, just hypothetically. A lot of these, for example, Lost in Eastern Europe, it's a very patriarchal society. You want to know why? Because women, unfortunately, it's a poor economy. So a lot of them are either sex workers or they have to be housewives. So guess what? Men are required to do even more than American men.
Do you have a point?
No, the point is that you dudes up here arguing about the differences when you had no idea what the differences are.
Okay, got it.
That's the point.
Got it. We got it.
Now,
speaking of a Nigerian,
I wasn't supposed to come up here, but as a real Nigerian,
come on, authentic
7 years
Nigerian
in that continent, in that country, I will say this. Unless you understand our culture and our heritage, female women who come from a prestigious, well brought up family will not do anything that will bring shame to their father's name. Number one, you can pay that very close attention. Whoever they get married to, it'll bring any level of disrespect to their husband. And ladies in the US, you're lucky that don't happen here. That man had every right to call their parents to come and pick up their daughter and throw her belongings out. They're not playing around. And I think this happened several times living in that country. Not only they throw them out, they demand their dowry, the payment they put into that particular daughter to be returned back.
Boy, did I hear payment?
You have no idea how that culture really is. The Yoruba, the Igbo, they don't play around with disgracing their name. When they raise their daughter, they raise their daughter to make sure that you represent them, but you don't disrespect the lineage that you come from. So you go out there and act like a complete fool. And there's evidence that you're disgracing their last name. Either you get shamed for it, or you get exiled from it, or you get cut off from it. Country that doesn't follow the westernization mindset has a community where they don't play around with that type of game. They don't. So this is why when I look at what's going on for more than 30 years in this country, I can't blame men who are familiar with my culture or any other African culture want to find women who are well brought up, who are groomed to be that way. Yes, African families shouldn't divorce it, but only when necessary. Meaning, either you get your act together. If you don't get your act together, they'll bring elders. Mind you, elder to come in and talk to the woman. The elder woman will talk to the young woman. Why are you acting the way you acting to your husband? While the elder man trying to beg the man, please forgive our daughter. Forgive our daughter. She will behave. But if he is fed up, yes, he got the right to kick her out, get that dowry, and find somebody else. Yes, there's some African men have more than one wife. Sometimes the second wife is to replace or put the first wife in check. So when we come to our culture, don't let Ekene, he's a historian of African culture. He understands it better than I do. This is something you need to understand. The culture of different countries have a deep root and deep history. And when you don't understand how they build marriage up, don't try to put it out there very well, try to put it out there very well. There's a different culture dynamic when it comes to marriage compared to here. The way Americans treat marriage is not the same as African treat marriage, nor the European, nor people from the Middle East. We need to understand that the value of marriage outside this ideology is more valuable, more sacred compared to America. This is why when I ask people what the difference of marriage, I hate to say this, about 80% of American people don't know what marriage really is. It may be more than that. This is why you have a low value of marriage. Just being completely honest. Other than that, there are people who marry African women in large numbers now. It's not being counted here because you're not over there to see it. It's been going on for more than decades. Well, other than that, I'll just say be careful when you mention culture because there's some people just like me who've seen it, who understand it.
How many goats I need? Let's get to the bottom line.
Stop, Trey. Come on.
He said we need
Get
50
to the
goats,
bottom.
man.
Right, Lost. It was 50,
It was 50 goats,
right?
man.
It's
I
50
remember.
goats. Let's just get to the bottom line here, David.
Doesn't matter what kind of goat it is, man.
Hey, Lost. Do you know who Lisa Yarrow is?
Yeah.
How many goats I need for her? She Nigerian.
That's probably about a good about
120.
About 120.
125.
Yeah, about 120.
Yeah, I get 125 goats for her.
I will say this though. These ladies' parents, especially their father, want to make sure they are giving their daughter to the right kind.
Correct.
They will view that man. They will interview that man. They will sit that man down. They'll have his peers who will see things different. If a father sees the one who worthy of their daughter's marriage, it will become a great celebration. They'll do all kind of things for that man. They will make sure she is well prepared for that man, even though you are a foreigner. But now more foreign men are coming to Africa to marry well brought up women. In a very alarming number these days, which I find it surprising. Don't take my word for it.
Appreciate it, David. Jenny, you got the flow. You want to say anything else before we go?
No. I mean, since my show is only once a month now, I wanted to make sure that everybody got what they wanted to get out. So,
Oh yes.
you know, I'm glad that you guys got to hash it out and talk about what you wanted to say and get your thoughts out. So I do have a couple more things to say. I have some verses that I wanted to give, to just talk about some things and wrap up some ideas. And so, Acts 17:26 says, and hath made, this is speaking of God, and hath made of one blood all nations of men for to dwell on the face of the earth, and hath determined the times before appointed and the bounds of their habitation. And so this is a verse that is saying that all people are created of the same blood. All people are made, from Adam and Eve. We get everybody from those two. And so if a guy wants to go to a different place and marry a different type of woman, then, it's okay because, we talk about our people and their people, but in reality, we're all one people. We're all a part of the same human race. And so that goes back to what I was saying, is that it doesn't really matter if you marry someone who's from a different place, but just it matters what they believe. And, if you guys have actually the same values, specifically the same religion. Leviticus 19:19 says, "You shall keep my statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind. Thou shalt not sow thy field with mingled seed. Neither shall a garment mingle of linen and woolen come upon thee." This is about, not mixing things that don't belong together, and something that does not belong together is saved and unsaved people. Exodus chapter 34, verses 14 through 16 says, "For thou shalt worship no other God, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God, lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they go a-whoring after their gods, and do sacrifice unto their gods, and one call thee, and thou eat of his sacrifice. And thou take of their daughters unto thy sons, and their daughters to go a-whoring after their gods, and make thy sons go a-whoring after their gods." So this is the verse that I thought I was quoting earlier, but I was mistaken. And this is exactly what happened to King Solomon, and how he took all these strange wives and had all these different women who did not have the same God, and it was his destruction. And so better men than you have failed when it came to picking the wrong wife. So it's extremely important. And then lastly, Deuteronomy chapter 21, verses 10 through 13 says, when thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and the Lord thy God hath delivered them into thine hands, and thou takest them captives." Oh, wait. Is this what I read earlier? No. Okay. It's not. But when thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and the Lord thy God hath delivered them into thine hands, and thou takest them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and hast a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her to be thy wife, then thou shalt bring her into thine home, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails, and she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that thou shalt go in unto her and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. Now, that might sound a little confusing, but basically what it's saying is that if you go into a land and you take a wife from the captive city that you overthrew, she needs to conform to you and get on your program. Not that you guys intermingle with what both of you have going on now, and that, she still worships her old God and she still does her old thing. No, she gets on your program. She is now integrated into your system. And so I think that, if a man wants to go over to another country and get a wife, then, he needs to take control of that situation. Because like someone said in the chat earlier, the culture is the problem. So if you bring her over here, then if she's living amongst these people, she might get infected with the feminist mind virus, and she could go rogue just as much as any other black woman. And so it's not good enough just to, marry her and think that everything's going to be perfect and she's going to stay the way that she was, because you might marry her at 20. By the time she's 41, she'll have lived most of her life in America. So you still have to protect her mind and make sure that she doesn't get, contaminated with feminism. And so, yes. And so that's what I had to say. And I appreciate all of you guys coming on and sharing your opinions. Even you, Teruse, it was very good. What you said was valuable, and you had some good points.
Oh, thanks for allowing me on the panel.
Yes. Even though you should have gotten the boot because you kept using God's name in vain. But
Look at God showing grace.
I apologize. And panel, I apologize for taking the Lord's name.
And don't let it happen.
In vain? Out in vain? How'd you say that? Like, seriously.
Close enough. We understand.
Okay. No, I'm asking seriously. Like, how am I supposed to say it?
In vain.
In vain? Okay.
Yeah.
In vain. And so, yes. But
Jenny, what was that passage that you said about Solomon again? What was that? Leviticus?
Oh, no. It didn't quote Solomon, but the one that I referenced about him was Exodus chapter 34, verses 14 through 16, where it says, "Don't bring their daughters to marry your sons lest your sons go a-whoring after their gods."
Yeah, this is what I'm going to end it on, because Monday I'm going to talk about men being the gatekeepers of marriage. And so you touched upon that a little bit. I usually don't go biblical because I have one foot in the secular world. It's always there. I don't even try to lie about that. But I always say that there's parallels. And there's always common sense things you can take out of the Bible and apply it to everyday life. And when you talk to people who are not religious, I like to extract those things because you can get the point across without, using the God word, which kind of closes some people off, right? But you still want to get a point across, So that's where I'm at. My wife wrestles with that, but she gives me grace.
But even Jesus spoke in parables because we already know we don't want to do the right thing. So we got to put a spoonful of sugar to help the medicine go down. That's all right, our pain. We got you.
Yeah, thanks for letting me up. I appreciate it. Great panel. This is good. This was good. See, we will all wait for you to come back. See?
That's right. Yeah. Welcome back, Jenny. Welcome back. Ladies and gentlemen, if you hadn't already hit the like button, hit share. And if you're new, hit subscribe. Thank you guys for coming out. Miss Jenny, welcome back. That was one heck of a show. Good evening, everybody.
Yes. Good night, everyone.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute. Work hard for the car, so that's why it's all tinted. Wait a minute. Had a real late night, woke up with my head spinning out in Nashville. It's been mad real. I need sunglasses, I need Advil. I like fake boobs and my cash real. I like first place, you're in last deal. Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle.
Look, pocket rocket in my pocket, please don't make me pop it. All these boys just wanna copy the style, tell them niggas stop it. Whoa, it's my destiny for the like Latoya, like it found me my Beyonce, and she shotgun in the cockpit. Riding with the team, making C-notes. In my pocket still full of green, call it CeeLo. Alligator watch on me, Tim Tebow. And these haters love to watch me like TiVo. Look, I don't take L's, I just learn a lesson. Before I count the M's, always count my blessings. Look, I'm too short, never second guessing. Got some money, put up for the rain, so I'm never stressing.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles.